man.
Mr. Depp, before the break, we were talking about how your finger got injured in Australia. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to pull up Defendant's Exhibit 394, please. Mr. Depp, do you recall Mr. Rottenborn showing you this exhibit during your cross-examination?
Yes, I do.
Can you please explain
My dad's in
when
the area.
relative to your finger injury you sent this text message?
That's the day before. Am I correct?
At the bottom, it says, I cut the top of my finger off. What should I do? Except, of course, go to a hospital.
Australia, exactly. The time difference, sorry. Yes. That's what I said.
Yo,
And so when
yo, Addy,
relative
if you're
to
still
when
watching
your
it, do you
finger was
think
injured,
they're gonna
did you send
rotate
this
the
text
people who are talking
to your best
and do
recollection?
asking questions? Because I don't be weird. I find what this exact segment, whenever they do it, a little bit more leisurely and kind of
This
annoying.
looks like it's at the time. To me,
And in the middle here, it says, her obsession with herself is far more important. She's so fucking ambitious. She's so desperate for success and fame. That's probably why I was a choir mate. What did you mean by that?
unfortunately, I meant
To
exactly.
protect the world from
I
devastation.
meant exactly what I said in this text. It seems it had become clear. That
So
they
that
were,
tells me. Maybe it was better than sleepy. I agree.
She seemed to
But I mean, it's his life.
take more
literally,
care
so.
in and importance in
Not sleep. He's just gonna, it's just going in details about his stuff.
going on auditions, going to the Met Ball, or going to any sort of premiere or opening or whatever, where she could be
Objection beyond the
photographed.
scope of the question, Your Honor.
Sorry?
I
That
believe he was.
that would be pretty
responding
fucking
to what he
annoying.
meant by what he wrote in his text message
And then
to
he said I
Dr.
meant exactly what the word said, and now he's going beyond
All
the
right,
scope.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. Rottenborn.
Sir, if you could just answer the question, Mr. Depp, please.
Certainly,
Direct your
certainly.
attention just to your attorney, okay?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Mr.
Well, is it
Depp,
gonna be
last
him
week,
doing this
Mr.
for the rest of the
Rottenborn
bit?
showed you an audio recording where you referenced your finger getting cut off in Australia. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to play a different portion of that recording that came before the portion that Mr. Rottenborn played. So if we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 343, and we will be playing the portion from at 1 hour, 54 minutes, 11 seconds to 1 hour, 56 minutes, 10 seconds.
It's early, it's quick, it's so not, you're not interested in not fighting. You are guaranteeing a fight. When you do that, and I've told you this so many times, you guarantee, if you were interested in not fighting, you would be respectful if you needed the space you would be careful not to perpetuate the fight longer by saying, I need a few minutes, and then actually honoring that. How can I trust you that it will be a few minutes when you've done this in the past and disappeared for hours? I got mad at you in Australia about
Why,
this.
that
I
is
said,
incredibly
"Babe, I want
manipulated.
to
That
trust
is-
you. It's hard for me not to try and work it out. If you want to be the person that's like, I need to cool down, help me do that. Give that to you. But I can't give
that
it to
is
you if
literally
you always
witch
let me
logic
down
and-
and fuck up and forget.
Because I
and
gave you a time limit, because I said I'll be back in 3 minutes. So I'm just...
No, it's
if that
different.
happens, if it happens,
It's different. You never.
if it happens, I'm just going to say, look, I need some time. Gracias.
I'm telling you, that will
It's toxic. Doesn't matter how much time it is.
Make it worse.
Saying you need time in an argument or in a fight
guarantee
is literally one of the
will.
best ways to de-escalate and find solutions. Is
I'm
to
not
just take a
talking
chiller.
about throwing punches. I'm talking about an argument.
Right. In arguments, you tend to throw punches.
I'm talking about arguments. I'm not talking about the times when it's got physical. I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about arguments. I'm talking about arguments.
Yes,
Talking
in our
about
argument.
fights. Earlier and earlier and earlier. Now you split. You take off right away. You don't deal with the issue. You don't deal with the confrontation, and you split. Whether it is, and then you do it for an undeterminate amount of time. You do it without actually respecting. When you do give me a time, like say I need a few minutes, you never.
Mr. Depp, whose voices can you hear in that audio recording?
Ms. Hurd and myself.
And there was a mention about Ms. Hurd getting mad about something in Australia. What did Ms. Hurd get mad at you about in Australia?
There were many instances where Ms. Hurd would get upset, angry, and argumentative and violent in Australia. There were many times. The one that was the day when my tip of my finger disappeared, that had to do with a phone call. When she arrived in Australia, she complained that an attorney
Can we see a
was
huge biceps,
explaining to
please,
her
XQCL?
Objection, Your Honor, is hearsay as to what he alleges her attorney was explaining to her. That's clearly
We
hearsay.
can move on, Your
Okay,
Honor.
yes, ma'am.
Your recording that we just heard, what to your
What?
understanding is Ms. Hurd referencing when she says you split?
I would excuse myself from the situation. I would try to get away so that nothing escalated. Because if given the chance to allow things to escalate, Ms. Hurd would take it to the very extreme, which ended up with my finger being chopped off. So I rather thought it was the best idea to avoid things like that.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 272. I believe this is another document that you saw during your cross-examination. Do you recognize these text messages?
I have a question.
Yes.
And
If this
these were
trial,
after your detox on the island, is that right?
if this trial is about defamation,
Now, where it
You know
says here,
Kanye
this
follows
was the
anybody
right
that
thing
has
to
black
do to
profile
speed up the
picture,
process.
right?
What are you referring
Just
to
because
there?
Kanye follows a person does not mean they
no,
are.
he's legit. I saw him. I looked on Twitter. He's chilling.
When we were on the island and I was going through the process of detoxing from the opiates, which was a very unpleasant and powerful, painful process. It wasn't working with Miss Hurd there. I could not properly detox, as every day was another problem or this or that. So I asked we leave the island and go back to Los Angeles, and I asked Ms. Hurd if she would please allow me to get a bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel where she and her friends could go for, I needed 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, anything I could get where I could finish the detox by myself without any unnecessary interruptions or unpleasant interruptions. To which she replied that she was felt like I was throwing her out and abandoning her, and after all she had done for me.
Oh, well, that's just kind of cooked up now.
The fact is, though, no matter what I wrote to her mother and to her, I needed the time, because I would have gone straight back to the pills. I would have not been able to detox properly without that time alone. And
That's not what hearsay mean. That is not what hearsay means.
And,
Otherwise, they
I
would
sent
have.
her and her friends to Beverly Hills Hotel and in a
Your account of
bungalow
events and what
went through
happened
the detox by
and why you're
myself
doing
in
it is
the,
not hearsay.
in Penthouse 3 for the next 5 or 6 days.
Mr. Depp, last week, Mr. Rottenborn showed you a video that was taken of yourself where you're slamming some cabinets. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
First of all, where are you in that video?
finally his take on it.
That's the kitchen at a house that I've on Sweetser that I've lived in since mid-90s.
And do you recall what you were upset about in that video?
His mom.
Objection leading.
Overruled.
I don't recall, as I don't know the date of.
Leading?
There's no metadata that I am aware of for that tape. Also, apparently looking for any metadata is impossible, as it is
Your
now
Honor,
owned
beyond the
by.
scope of the
I'll
question.
sustain the objection. You want to ask the question
Mr.
again?
Depp, what do
That's
you
Depp's fault.
remember, what, if anything, do you remember being upset about that resulted in what was seen in that video?
I can't recall if it was bad news about my mother's health. I can't recall if it was something to do with my former business managers, finding out that they'd taken me for a very nasty ride. I don't recall exactly what it was about. What I do know is that it didn't have anything to do with her.
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
Overruled, I'll allow it. It's fine.
He's so desperate. Can we just let him talk for a little bit?
There was nothing between us before she entered that room. It was me alone.
Okay. Do you know where Miss Heard was before she entered the room?
I assumed that she was up in the, she'd gotten out of bed and gotten dressed and come downstairs.
I think it's
Mr.
sad.
Depp, earlier today, Mr. Rottenborn played a recording where you can hear Miss Heard seeming to claim that you put a cigarette out on her. Do you remember that?
I remember hearing that, yes.
I'd
Proof?
like to play you another recording, which is Plaintiff's Exhibit 365.
Okay.
As I
This
understand,
is,
though,
for the record, an 11-second recording, so we'll be putting in the entire.
he's mad
Any objection to 365?
and he goes to the cabinets. He's setting a time that he's not even lashing at her.
365
And her first reaction is, I'm gonna pull up my phone and start recording him. I don't know who does that. I don't. It doesn't matter who it is. I think that's just fucking lame as shit.
Couch. 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 You give me one couch. I gave you 3 other couches. 2 couches. Give me one, please. Please, give me a couch.
What do you want?
Couch.
Couch, what? What do you want?
I want couch.
We don't have to shake one.
I want couch.
Is she brain dead?
Agree, please, though. You said you agreed
Couch,
before we
agreed.
started talking. I'm gonna stop fighting.
Have I been fighting?
Yes.
Your Honor, she said this was
Everything
11
you said has
seconds.
been nasty and provoking and mean-spirited
Not you.
and meant. No, I'm not saying that.
it's
You asked.
Hey!
I'm sorry, I think I misspoke. I may have been 45. I may have misremembered.
She
It's,
said
it's
it was
a.
11 seconds long. And that went way
Is he gonna
I
start
apologize, I
crying?
misremembered.
All right, it's in evidence.
It may help if we ask them to move the media player so we can see it too, because we just have a blank screen, so.
Okay, it's
Well,
45
that's
seconds.
probably because we didn't publish it. There you go. Okay.
And you said it's 11. This is incriminating. Please stop.
Okay.
Can you please strike it from the record? Strike it. Strike that.
Can we play that? Thank you.
Couch. 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 You give me one couch. I gave you 3 other couches. 2 couches. Give me one,
You don't
please.
pay attention to it.
Please give me couch.
Couch.
What do you want?
Couch.
Couch, right. What do you want?
I want couch.
We don't have to sleep, man.
Oh, she
Couch.
sounds so fucking annoying.
Agree, please, though. You said you agreed
Couch,
before we
agreed.
started talking. I'm gonna stop fighting.
I would lose my shit so bad.
Yes. Everything you've said has been nasty and provoking and mean-spirited.
Not yours.
And no, I'm not saying that. You asked me yours. By the way, you just threw a fucking cigarette on me.
You threw it at her or you extinguished it on her?
Mr. Depp, do you recognize what's in that recording?
Do I recognize what's in the recording?
Yes.
I thought he extinguished it.
Seems pretty clear that she's ordering me to the couch. And I didn't want to go through with any, again, avoiding confrontation, trying to avoid confrontation in any way.
Well, she's laughing. That's not funny. That's not funny.
I can certainly say that without hesitation, there is no way under the sun that I would flick a cigarette at her.
That's fucking demonic,
or burn
yeah.
her with a cigarette. If I flicked ashes and an ash got on her, but she's certainly not screaming out in pain as if a cigarette is being put out on her. That's ludicrous.
Do you recall the situation that's reflected in that audio recording?
I believe that's Montreal, excuse me, Toronto,
Oh.
which was right after the Venice Film Festival. We were at the Toronto Film Festival.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to ask you about a couple text messages from May 22nd, 2016 that Mr. Rottenborn asked you about earlier.
Yes.
And before I do, could you please remind the jury
Food
what
arrived.
was going on
No, you're right,
between
for
you
chat,
and
you're
Ms.
a minute.
Heard's between you and Ms. Heard on
Finally,
May
I'm fucking starving.
22nd, 2016?
On May 22nd, on May 21st, I hadn't seen her since the 22nd of April, her birthday, which was when I left at 4:30 in the morning. I believe,
Objection, Your Honor. This is cumulative. He's already gone through all of this in his direct examination. And she asked him what was happening on May 22nd. And he's getting into what happened on May 21st. We've already been through this.
Yeah.
I believe that he's providing context for where they
I think
were
we
on the
can- we can
22nd,
go to
but
the 22nd.
if you could, Mr. Depp, please explain where you were on the 22nd of May in 2016.
as far as I can remember, on May 22nd, 2016, I was preparing to leave for New York for rehearsals and then a tour with the Hollywood Vampires. I was either preparing to leave or I was had left.
Could we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 736, please? And do you recall sending this text message to Ms. Heard on May 22nd, 2016 at 6:19 p.m.?
Yes, I do.
What did you mean when you told her nothing I have to say to you should elicit anything but a sense of ease?
It was essentially, for me, I was bringing up what I'd spoken to her about before, which was a peaceful resolution to the problems, a peaceful resolution in terms of a peaceful and private and quiet and calm divorce. And so that's why I say it shouldn't elicit anything but a sense of ease, because it was not about, I didn't want to argue. I didn't want anything but to end the marriage in the kindest way possible for all, her family, my family, her myself, etc.
And what did you mean when you said all my love and profound apologies?
Profound apologies is that it just didn't work. We just could not work. There was no way. And I had to try to put a peaceful end, a peaceful stop to the endless opportunities for these constant arguments. If I didn't put a stop to it, then, I mean, if I didn't try to put a peaceful stop to it, a peaceful end to it, then if you don't stop it yourself, it'll stop you. Then, I mean, if I didn't try to put a peaceful stop to it, a peaceful end to it, then if you don't stop it yourself, it'll stop you. It'll stop you, and you don't know what that could be, but it was horrific, and I wanted her out of it, and I wanted out of it. No one deserves to live like that. No one deserves to live like that. Not her, not me, not anyone. So I just wanted a smooth exit for both of us. That's all I was looking for.
Mr. Depp, yes, or last week, Mr. Rottenborn played a clip from an audio recording where Ms. Heard told you that you vomit in your sleep a lot. Do you remember that recording?
Yes, I do.
And what's your response to that?
When someone tells you that you vomit, she didn't tell me, I heard it in court. When someone brings up the fact that you vomit in your sleep every night, and, well, first I think you'd be aware of it. And also, I think the first thing that I would do is seek medical attention. It didn't exist. I'd never vomited in my sleep every night. There were times when I would get, yes, physically ill from the endless shots that you take when you're just, you're unable to take it anymore. And it does affect you physically after a while. So I would have to leave and go and vomit when fights got into these surreal and absurd and horrible places. But it still confounds me as to why she would record that. I don't know why anyone would record that.
Fucking true. That's what I said earlier. It's exactly what I said.
The
Why?
portion, the clip that Mr. Rottenborn played was from Defendant's Exhibit 839, and just for the record, this is a portion of a larger recording which is reflected in Plaintiff's Exhibit 342. So with the court's permission, I'd like to play a clip from Plaintiff's Exhibit 342. And the portion I'd like to play is at 19 minutes, 40 seconds to 25 minutes, 25 seconds.
Right, do we have 342 already in evidence, or
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
no? So you want to put 342, which is just the entire audio in?
Yes, I don't
Evidence.
believe that there's anyone else in this audio recording, Your Honor.
I don't believe, I hear this before. Okay, 342, any objection?
As long as there's no one else in the audio recording, no objection.
We can confirm afterwards, so if Your Honor would, if it's more comfortable, we can put it in as 342A.
Okay. And what was let's put 342A, and what's the part that you're going to?
It's 19 minutes, 40 seconds to
Okay.
25 minutes, 25 seconds.
All right. And there's just the two of them in this excerpt, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. That's 342A in evidence, then. Thank you.
I don't care.
Do you understand why 10 minutes downstairs
I don't
didn't
care.
seem real?
I don't care.
Did you hear what I said?
I don't care. I don't care.
You do.
There's plenty of things you've done, plenty of things you've fucking done that were absolute fucking lies.
I didn't
I'm not
ever-
even fuck with you about it. So anyway, don't leave it. So I'll see you in a bit. Yeah?
Is that what matters?
Your lies?
Is this what matters to you, your party?
Your lies, man.
I never led you. And what we're talking about tonight is what? Who are you? Why? Why are you doing this?
I'm leaving. I'll be back.
Why?
So I'm leaving.
What is it that is so important always to run away to? Why?
It's a runaway, yeah. I run because I'm a cop.
Why don't you stay? You asked me once not to leave, and I'm asking you. So
That
why
is
every 5
incredibly
seconds
manipulative.
do I get? I'm leaving because there's a fucking movie party I gotta go to. I have never prioritized you behind that. And you, of all people, all this talk about not being that guy, you have done nothing but over the last 2 days but tell me that your movie parties were more important, including the night before last. When I said to you the same thing, stay. And today you apologized, said I love you, I'm so sorry. And then today it takes you 2 seconds. It takes you 20 seconds at most to go, fuck that, I hate you, I don't want to be with you, goodbye, I'm leaving, I'm running away. But I'm not running, I'm walking away.
Well, the one thing is for sure, I don't want to be with you.
Holy. That should be enough, huh?
Then if you don't want to be with me in life,
Goodbye.
then you need to actually do it. You need to actually take off your ring and forget that 5 hours ago you said the opposite. Otherwise, you can't keep throwing that around. You can't keep saying to me that this is something you care about.
There you go.
Is that what it's worth to you?
Yeah. Yeah. For you, from all this bitching, from all these rules, all these.
Rules? Because I asked you to stay.
Does she know she's
'Cause I asked
recording?
you to stay.
Chat, does she know she's recording? Is she the one to start it or
What was
not?
it? What was it when you asked me to
I'm sure
stay?
pain in the ass.
What was it when you asked me
I
to
can't
stay?
stand it. No.
What was it when you asked me to stay? In Australia.
then this is
you
incredibly
said
unfair.
You promised me not to leave.
Then this is incredibly unfair
You
then.
said-
That's just weird.
You promised me not to leave. What did I do?
I thought you would change.
What did I do?
Not change.
What did I do?
Not change.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You changed.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You stayed and you didn't change and you were a fucking
I stayed.
pain in the ass and you were a cunt.
So I stayed. And I've been a cunt ever since, which is why you told me
Pretty
about every other day how you couldn't imagine your life without me, including today.
I'm actually impressed that this is how he acts.
So,
He doesn't know he's
does that
recording.
seem normal to you?
And how
Does
she
that
acts
seem
when she
normal
knows
to
she's
you?
recording. That's insane.
You told me tonight that you couldn't
That's
imagine your
like
life without me.
crazy.
And now you're throwing your ring on the ground. Does that seem normal?
Let's have you tell me
That seems sober? You seem normal?
The definition of normal.
Does that seem normal?
You.
Does that seem normal to you?
Borderline personality disorder.
I'm borderline personality disorder now.
Without question.
When I've been consistent all night saying, don't go, don't fuck this all up. I'm not fighting with you anymore. I've been saying this to you the whole night. I'm really sorry we disagreed. You're not perfect. I said this 2 hours ago. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect.
I love that you put
But
me
we don't
first.
have to do this every time we disagree.
No. No, we don't. We
Please.
do. We do.
Please, come here.
And you have
Please come
every
here.
insult.
Please come here. I'm not insulting you. I have not been insulting you. I love you. Johnny, what do you need me to do? I love you. Stop.
Smack me in the ear again. I'm gonna smack my ear again. So it fucking resounds in my fucking...
Even though she knows she's recording, she's doing way worse than he is, which is insane to me. Alright, I think that's absolutely fucking insane. She thinks she's in the right, yeah. On top of that, if this is how she acts, and she knows how to conduct herself when she's recording, imagine when she's not, and she knows she's not and nobody is. She must be a fucking absolute fucking banshee. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Or your goddamn fucking lover, Tasia Fantasia. I'm not gonna be that shit, man. No, I don't want to be with you. If these are the fucking rules, fuck that. I'm making this up. That, above all else, is an insult.
Mr. Depp, what are you and Ms. Heard discussing in this recording?
It is another argument that is apparently not an argument to her. The screeching of her voice, the demand that things go her way and only her way. I was done, and I think I stated clearly, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to be with you. I'm not going to be a parrot on or some, little dog that runs through hoops for you. I ain't going to do that. And I wanted out. She said, take your ring off. She still wouldn't let me leave. I did, and she still wouldn't let me leave. So it's just another example of
a fucking PhD in gaslighting?
Nailed in one spot and not allowed to do anything but react to her screaming and screaming like a banshee, and then telling me to calm down when I had been pretty calm. I thought.
Where were you
Who
trying
said
to
it?
go, if you can recall?
He said it!
Nowhere. Away.
And why did you ask Ms. Heard if she wanted to smack you in the ear again?
I didn't pre-watch.
She had given me a good chop in the ear, one of those where leaves you ringing,
Yeah, it does.
And it was not long before that, and so I thought, maybe this will make you happy. Will it make you happy would you like to hit me in the ear again? Would that make you feel better? Will that make you stop?
How do you know it's a good story?
Would have done anything to have stopped. Outside of taking anything to some physical level. I disagreed with that wholeheartedly. That's not me. It's not who I've ever been. It's not who I'll ever be.
Mr. Depp, I'm going to play another audio recording. This is a different portion from what Mr. Rottenborn played for you today. It's DX 598. I believe the portion Mr. Rottenborn played was designated 598B, so this will be 598C.
Okay.
And first I'd like to play the portion from 31 minutes, 14 seconds to 33 minutes, 4 seconds.
All right, any objection to 598C?
Here it comes.
And then we will go on and play the second portion, which is 56 minutes, 27 seconds to 59 minutes, 54 seconds.
Oh wow, it's a good clip, boys. We got some content, boys. Spicy.
598C in evidence.
You know, and it builds, right? Like you build, I build, you know. It isn't like at one moment either of us sign a certificate of saying, or like sign the contract or say, okay, now a bloodbath. No. So acting as though there's a choice between the two is irrelevant. I'm not asking you to stay over having a bloodbath. I'm asking you, over walking away. I'm not asking you to have a bloodbath over walking away. I'm asking you to work it out over prolonging it and making it bigger.
Right, but if...
at least that's how I see it.
Indeed,
You know?
but if things get heated,
Yeah.
and it looks like it's going somewhere nasty, and the name calling begins, and all that stuff, I've got to get away. Because I don't want to be ever in a situation again like that. Never.
Me too. Me too.
Never. So
Me too.
that's don't freak out if we do have a fight and I walk away.
I'm not going to do that. I'm asking you to stay
Cap.
when you feel you are also in the interest of working it
I
out.
think it's a good idea for us to take a moment or two, or take some time. Take some time to think by ourselves without being, barraged by each other's fucking bullshit whatevers. Let's take a break from it, and then come back, try and be calm, and walk through the thing. But I'm not gonna stand and fight with you. I will not. You can call me a coward.
I don't
You can
want
call
that.
me anything you want. All those names, do it. But I will not do it again.
Please stop asking. Please, can you stop for the sake of this conversation?
No, I'm just saying I won't do it again. That's all.
Guys, has he recorded a lot? Are a lot of these evidence and exhibits his or almost none?
Okay, then let's take our space and let's not do this anymore, because I'm really getting frustrated, and I'm really, really, really sick of this argument.
Stop. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let me go, and you go, and I'll speak to you in a couple hours. Okay? Okay?
Stop. Okay.
Why are you saying stop?
Because
May
you're being
I
so-
go?
Please, it causes me so much stress when you leave, when you walk away from me with that. It's like you don't understand how much.
Wait,
worse
she's
you're
baiting
making
the
it.
argument because she's recording
Please, you're
it.
making it worse for me.
Okay, I'm sorry for you.
Please, I'm only trying to tell you so that you know you're causing me immense stress right now when you walk away like that. There's no reason to be mad.
Well, then say goodbye. I haven't walked away. You're not saying goodbye. You won't let me fucking leave. Let me
Oh my
leave.
God. Stop rushing me! Stop pushing me in the corner and then poking me with a stick and then saying, why aren't you saying the words you want me to say? Stop poking me! Stop rushing me! Stop throwing me against the wall and going, what? You don't like that wall? You don't like the fucking wall? Stop pushing me!
Remember, I'm not pushing you. I'm not rushing you. I said, I
Oh,
need space.
hell
I don't want
nah.
this conversation anymore right now. I need space.
Oh, no,
I will
that's-
take my space, whether you like it or not. I will take it. And you will take your space. But if you keep halting
I'm not doing anything
this
to you.
and continuing
I'm
with
not
the rhetoric.
continuing it. I'm begging you to stop.
I don't. Okay, stop. I'm stopped. Stop. Now I have to go. Okay? So we will speak to each other in a couple of hours. Okay? I hope you have some kind of revelation makes you feel better. You know? I hope I do too. But we'll just see when I get home. We'll just talk, or we won't talk, or we'll finish this, or we won't finish it. But this is not love. This is not happiness. This is not.
Please stop doing this. Please, you're causing so much fucking stress. I'm gonna die at this age. I'm gonna fucking die. You're causing me so much stress. Please stop. Please, I feel like I have heart attacks almost every day. Please stop. Please
what are you
stop
doing? Why-
doing it. Please stop. He's
Doing
so
what?
fucking mean.
Then he say, I want to. Let's just take a moment and chill.
I'm begging you not to fight. I just said, can we please have a normal argument? Just even a normal conversation. Fucking
normal
argument.
argument.
For the last hour, I've been begging you to please just leave it at that. Let's just go on with our night. I would have been able to come in with you. We would have been able to let it go in a few minutes.
Let's have arguments.
It would have been fine. It would just, if we allowed ourselves to have fucking normal arguments. Please, you're killing me with this. You're killing me. You're fucking killing me.
Chat, you're killing me, Chat. You're killing me. You're killing me. You're killing me.
Sean,
I'm dying right now. I'm dying.
you,
You're killing me right now. How about we have an argument? You're killing me right now. Can you stop that?
I want you to
You're
take
killing me
your
right now.
medicine.
Fuck. What the fuck is that, man?
I'm sorry that I've upset you.
Yeah, I think. Thank you, Sean. I'm ready to go. Thank you so much.
Jesus Christ.
Mr. Depp, in the beginning, well, first of all, do you know where you are when you're having this discussion with Ms. Heard?
The only, excuse me, the only
Jesus
clue
Christ,
that I
Mr.
have
Depp.
is that Sean is being called. I called Sean and said to drive her home, or I believe it was probably at Sweetser, so then she could drive back. He would drive her back to downtown Penthouse 3. She didn't seem in any shape to drive to me.
And earlier in the clip, there was a reference to a bloodbath. What does that mean in the context of that conversation?
I don't know. Again, it seems like some word that was it became
Objection,
part
Your
of it.
Honor. He said he doesn't know.
All right, I'll sustain objection. Next question.
Damn. So if he says the wrong thing, even though he's going somewhere with his statement, he has to stop because he already answered on paper.
Mr. Depp, at the end of the day on Thursday, Mr. Rottenborn played an audio recording for you where you were heard saying you were going to hurt yourself. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I'm not going to play that audio recording again. It seemed upsetting to you, but I do want to ask you a couple questions about that, okay?
Sure.
Could you please tell the jury when that recording is from?
That recording is from July of 2016. This was a few months after the restraining order had been put on me. I had been on tour through Europe, and then coming through the States, I got messages from Christian Carino, who was both of our former agent, saying that Ms. Heard wanted to meet with me in San Francisco.
She has a restraining order on him, yet she won't let him leave.
On the tour was San Francisco, and I was confused as to why Ms. Heard wanted to meet with me, especially since I was
How is that legal?
a court order not to come within, I don't know, 100, 200 feet or something of her. So at first I said,
Objection, Your Honor. The question was simply, do you remember when that was from? It's beyond scope.
Okay. So where were you when that recording was taken?
That was in San Francisco at a hotel room. So we went to a hotel room so that we could finish the discussion that she wanted to have with me.
And how did that discussion go?
Not particularly well. I was quite confused as to why I had been summoned to her at that point, since all the news was just about the fact that I had allegedly done all these horrible things to her, and
Summoned.
so I was talked into going there. I went and met with her in hopes that she would retract her
This has been spicy, actually. Didn't expect that.
lies, that the world was now fed, had been fed, and in no way was she ready to do that. And I couldn't understand why I was there. Everything had been taken from me. My children couldn't escape the fact that all this had gone down. So
Objection,
I was.
Your Honor. The question was, how did the discussion go? And he's talking about his children. It's way beyond the scope.
Just talking.
Sir, just wait for the objection.
I think he's describing the context around that conversation.
It's way beyond the scope of the
All
question.
right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Damn, are you the judge and
Mr.
wins?
Depp, why were you threatening to hurt yourself in that audio recording?
In fact, I wasn't threatening to hurt myself. I thought that Ms. Heard had brought me to San Francisco. At that point, it was clear she was under false pretenses. I don't know what she was after. So I had a knife in my pocket, and I just took the knife out and I said, "Here, cut me." That's what you want to do. Ultimately, you've taken everything. You want my blood? Take it. Have my blood. And then she said, "No." And then I said, "Look, if you're not going to take it, you want it. I know you want it. That's all I've got left. Take it." If she wasn't going to do it, I would have done it, because that's psychologically, emotionally where I was. I was at the end. I was broken.
Jeez.
Not only had I had to deal with everything from coming in from, arrows from all over the world, but now I don't know what she was trying to do. So I just thought the only answer is here. Cut me. Take my blood. That's all I've got left to give
He's
you.
definitely winning the jury here. Some points for sure, though.
And obviously, there was no threat to Ms. Heard with that knife. It was about spilling my blood.
Ooh, Eddie's on Discord.
So I thought that's what the only thing she didn't have at that point. And I was broken and really just at the end.
If you,
I couldn't take it anymore.
I won't hold a combo with you because I don't want to be annoying. If you want to sit on Discord,
thought-
and I'm just gonna come in and ask you questions or question at you.
Everybody, I know that that's
Whenever
his
things get
job,
flat,
but that
kinda
was
wicked.
quite a cruel.
Objection, Your Honor. We're well beyond the
All
scope.
right, I'll sustain the objection. Next
If
question.
you want to do that, join any voice room, and mods
Finally,
are
I'd like to
gonna
play
drag
a
you in.
portion from Plaintiff's Exhibit
Sorry.
357, specifically the portions at 18 minutes 43 seconds through 21 minutes 46 seconds.
357.
Join any voice and mute
357, yes.
yourself,
All right.
and
So
somebody will
is this
drag you.
going to be another one where it's going to be an A, or is this going to be all that's going to be offered?
Why don't we go with A to
We're
be
going
safe?
with A. Okay, could you give me the numbers again, just so I have them for the record? What are you going to play?
They're all full?
It is 3:57, beginning at 18
my
minutes,
God.
43 seconds through 21 minutes, 46 seconds.
All right, any objection to 357A? All right, 357A in evidence.
It's been going on too long, Amber. And we just gotta stop this. Just gotta stop it.
I don't know how to get my reputation back.
We write a letter together.
That makes
Saying that we're going to take this out of the public eye, saying that we're going to try and work this out on our own, saying that the media has created such a fucking hateful storm that it's sickening, that we love each other, and that we want to make sure each other is okay. Have we had fights in the past? Have we had this or whatever? Fuck it, they already know all that shit. Don't matter. Here's the deal.
no, it matters. It makes. That you have no idea. Every ounce of my credibility has been taken from. I mean, and done so in a dishonest way. You know.
Amber, the abuse thing is we've got to deal with that. Yeah. We got to deal with that,
I don't have
Amber.
any way of my credit. It's my credibility. You know, and I don't.
And why did you put that out there?
I did not. You forced me. Your team forced me to by going on the offense.
I didn't force you to.
From the very beginning. I promise. Look up the timeline to these things. Everything is. Forget it. Forget it. You don't believe what I say. You don't believe what I say.
No, that's just crazy.
I did not choose this. Every step of the way has been an offense.
I did not put this anywhere. I didn't. Let me talk to the fucking team.
I did not call the cops. I need them to state that.
IO called the
I did not
cops.
call the cops.
You told IO to call the cops.
I did not call the cops, and I did not give them any statement when they came. I've been trying to protect you.
You told IO
Wait,
to
she's
call the
lying.
cops.
That's the same thing. Calling the cops and asking somebody to call it is the same thing. That's just gaslighting.
I'm sorry, because the last time that it got crazy between us, I really did think I was going to lose my life, and I thought you would do it on accident. And I told you that. I said, oh my God, I thought the first time.
Amber, I lost a fucking finger, man. Come on. I had a mineral can of mineral spirits thrown at my nose.
You can please tell people that it was a fair fight and see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, John.
What happened with all the tears she was dropping? What happened with them?
Man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence, and
Yes.
I know it's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
It doesn't matter if it's fair fight my ass.
Exactly, because you're.
Jesus.
Mr. Depp, when did you have the conversation reflected in this
Addie, what's your name on
recording
Discord?
with Ms.
I'll
Hurd?
put you in. I'll give you permissions to join staff room.
I don't recall exactly when it was.
What's your best estimate?
My best estimate is that it was long before quite a while before the meeting in San Francisco in July. Excuse me.
How far after May 21st, 2016 do you think that conversation was?
Objection, calls for speculation. Sorry,
I have you.
I'm asking for his best estimate.
I'll allow it if you can answer it this way.
Sorry, could you ask it again? I was distracted.
How long after May 21st, 2016 do you believe that conversation took place?
Is this the real one?
I would say that it was not too far, maybe a couple of months. It was far enough to where the world media
What's
was
watching this? This is
already
interesting.
bombarding me. So
Mods, I see her on
it was-
Discord.
it was an
You guys want
attempt
to
try
promote her? I'm scared it's not everyone.
make all the
Objection, Your Honor, beyond scope.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
What are you referring to when you said you and Miss Heard will write a letter together?
I was trying to make a peaceful settlement.
And what are you referring to when you say you lost a finger?
A very large bottle of vodka severing my my middle finger in Australia.
And what were you referring to when you said a can of mineral spirits was thrown at your nose?
One of the arguments on the island where Miss Heard had been howling at me with some argument, and she picked up a can of mineral spirits about yay big and just heaved it at me, and it struck me on the bridge of the nose and right there, you know, the forehead.
Well, that's illness. That's fucking. That is
What
cooked
did
up.
you say in response when Miss Heard
Don't
said,
do shit
tell
like that.
the world, Johnny, tell them Johnny Depp,
Don't do that.
I, Johnny Depp, a man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence.
I said, yes, I am.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Sir, you can have a seat next to your attorney, please.
Thank you.
All right, your next witness. Ben King. Somebody going to go get Mr. King? You
Should I
can,
do away with these?
you can take it with you. Or you just leave it. You can leave it there.
Okay.
Mods, did you find her? Because I found her. Okay, Addy, I'm gonna give you permissions to join staff room. If you're a fake, I mean, I'm just gonna get my Discord hacked, pretty much. So let's make a new rule. Oh god. You sure the Furcan? You sure about that? Permissions of the new role will do. Mods, can you guys just give her like a moderator? Members search. I found you. I got you. Okay, I gave you moderator. You can now join staff room. You should be able to join it. Oh god, I hope it's the right one. Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
All right, and good afternoon, Mr. King.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Ben King.
And Mr. King, can you briefly tell us where you're from?
London, central London.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about your background? What's your occupation?
I'm a house manager, a personal assistant presently with an individual who also lives in central London.
Okay. Can you lean into the microphone a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, here we go.
Now, did you say you're a house manager?
That's right, personal assistant, house manager.
And can you just tell those of us in the courtroom who aren't familiar, what does that mean?
I work presently for a gentleman who's in the entertainment industry, who and I manage his property, a large apartment in central London, take care of the daily needs and running of that, oversight of the staff, and travelling with him when needed. And
If this is Alfred, is this not Alfred?
And how long have you been in this occupation?
Since about 1991, I started in private services, if you like, in house management, in butlering.
The lawyer. Whose lawyer is this, chat?
In all that stuff.
Typically based around London?
Correct. I started work
Still,
in London. It was my first big
Joint
job
Depps,
at
right?
Buckingham Palace, funnily enough. for 4 years, and then I continued in different positions, full-time and self-employed.
Well, no shit, he's nervous. He probably cares about him.
freelance
And if he
capacity
fails,
for
he
many
fails
years
him.
as well.
Just generally, can you tell us, and without getting into any specifics, but what type of people would you say you typically provide these services for?
Generally high net worth people, individuals or families, residencies.
Okay. Are you familiar with the plaintiff in this case, Johnny Depp?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
And how are you familiar with Mr. Depp?
I met and worked for Mr. Depp in 2014.
I'm one of the wrong accounts. Oh, nice. Great.
And subsequently a couple of times after that.
Okay. And can you briefly just explain to the jury how it came to be that you were working for Mr. Depp?
Great.
Sure.
No, I didn't.
Yes, at that point I was working in a freelance, self-employed capacity. A lot of my jobs came through friends of friends, personal recommendations, etc. And I was asked by a friend of a friend on this occasion, would I be available, to go and manage a property where Mr. Depp was going to be staying for about a month in central London. Was I available? Would I be willing to do it? And I was available at that point, and so I said yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And just to make sure we're on the same page, what time frame are we talking about here?
That was August 2014.
Okay. And did you in fact end up working for Mr. Depp in that time frame?
I did, yes.
Now, just to clarify, were you employed by Mr. Depp?
No.
So who was your employer?
I was paid through a large hotel which was close by to the house, who also they provided the housekeeper who was working with us for that month as well. So I was paid through them.
Okay. Can you just generally explain to us what kind of work you were doing for Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard in this time frame?
Sure. Yeah, it was the setup of the house, basically. Setting up the house initially, which meant ahead of the principals arriving, which meant making sure all the linens were in place for the bedrooms. It was a sizable property, and just organizing everything ahead of their arrival.
Wait, but she had a random Steam link to her account.
Of that property, the oversight of
Okay,
it,
you have to connect. Okay, Mars.
day-to-day running, some service, like butler service, and managing the housekeeper day-to-day through that whole month.
And when you refer to the principals, who are you referring to?
Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard.
Okay. Where exactly were you working in London at this point?
Aiden, how do you put into VC?
This was in Mayfair. It was a large townhouse in an old building, but it was very contemporary inside, modern.
Can't drag her.
Very modern sort of way. Quite spacious, maybe 4 or 5 bedrooms, I think. A small indoor pool, a small gym.
I'm gonna remod you.
Quite a.
You should be able to see the voice channels on the left.
Okay. And
you can join the waiting room.
There?
For the month.
It's in the voice channel on the left side.
Okay. Can you tell us just generally what hours you would typically work in a day while you were working
for talking over
London
there.
in this time frame?
Yeah, approximately. It depended on what was going on, but I mean, generally 7 or 8 in the morning till.
Sorry, chat.
7 or 8 in the evening, typically. There was a chef employed as well. Russell, brilliant chef. He tended to stay after I left in the evening. He would cook dinner, serve dinner, and thankfully cleaned up after dinner, so I could leave sort of early to mid-evening, usually most days. Unless we had guests, unless there were guests or other things going on.
During your time managing the house for Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard in 2014, did you have occasion to observe the interactions between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
How often?
Hello, Eddie. Since things are kind of going crazy now and a lot of talking, period. I'll let him talk and I'll
did you
come back in a minute.
Interact with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Yes, also daily, I would say.
Which of them would you say Or did you see one of them more often than the other?
Ms. Heard was there. Mr. Depp was, the reason I think they rented the house was because Mr. Depp was working at a studio. I think it was Mordecai, the movie. So Ms. Heard was there at the house most of the days. Mr. Depp often went to work and came back later on in that evening, that day.
How would you generally describe the interactions that you observed between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Initially, very sort of loving towards each other, nice couple. Mr. Depp was always a gentleman and keen to make sure Miss Heard was taken care of, anything she needed, often pour a glass of wine for her. Just nice, pleasant.
How about your own interactions with the couple? How did you get along with them both?
I think very well. They were really open to me, and I mean, my background's quite formal, so it was quite an informal setting. I was able to ask questions to either of them. Ms. Heard especially, it was really helpful to get information about what time they wanted dinner, basic stuff like that, or anything. It was good interaction all the time with the both of them.
Okay. Now you mentioned wine. Can you tell us to what extent did you observe either of them consume alcohol over the course of these 4 weeks?
Sure. When I started that job, or when I was taking that job on, I was told, I think by Mr. Depp's assistant, that he was. Oh, sorry.
Can you answer without telling what you were told?
I was made aware that Mr. Depp was.
This guy's kind of adorable.
Same objection. He's explaining what he was been told. Now he just said I was informed.
I don't think it's offered for the truth, Your Honor. I think it's just offered to explain his own behavior towards the couple.
No, it's the approach.
Okay.
What? It's kind of cute. Well, because he's like a deer in headlights, and he's just gonna, Okay, yeah. Okay, Addy, can you hear me? So right now on Discord, you're muted. You might have to add a key to unmute, or you could probably manually unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Oh my god, I hear you. That's pretty good, actually.
Hello. Hello.
Although, yeah, listen, I didn't want it to be like a constant flow, because I just want to ask for input from time to time,
Okay, no
if that's okay. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, super.
So Mr. King,
Good.
If I have a hard time answering, I just want to let you know up front that I'm on the autism spectrum, so sometimes things don't really.
And what you personally.
I'll do my best.
Don't worry.
I do.
Nothing to worry about here.
You're
good.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Consuming
I'm
alcohol during that time in London. There was a large consignment of wine that had been delivered to the house at the start of the visit. Many cases that I had to find a place to store. And generally speaking, on a day-to-day, about 1 or 2 bottles of red wine were consumed per day. I think that's fair to say.
Did you ever observe Mr. Depp drink any of the wine?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever observe Miss Heard drink any of the wine?
Yes, I did.
Regularly?
Daily.
Now, I think you already testified that you observed interactions with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, and you generally found them to be friendly. Is that fair?
Very much so, yes.
Were there any exceptions to that?
Towards me? Oh.
I'll rephrase. Okay. Did you ever observe any arguments between the two?
Yes, I did.
I'll allow it, that's fine, go ahead.
You can answer.
Oh, yes, I did, yeah.
Okay, and can you describe for us the arguments that you observed?
I can describe 2 of them, certainly. There were a few arguments on that during that month.
Well, let's just start with those 2.
Okay. The first one I remember was an evening. Actually, they were both the ones I recall and I was close to, were evenings. This first particular evening, the couple were due to go out for dinner, I guess. I know the car was waiting in the little courtyard there, ready for them to go, and security were waiting to take them. I was waiting to see them out into the car. I was at the foot of on the ground floor level, to wait to see them out, essentially. And the first thing I heard was Miss Heard shouting upstairs in the master suite where they were getting ready to leave. I heard her shout something, I don't recall what. I was in the vicinity, I wasn't really there to listen. And I heard footsteps, loud footsteps, sort of going across. There's like a corridor, if you like, at the top of those stairs that went around the master suite. Loud footsteps, and then more footsteps following, more shouting. And that sort of went on for some time. I mean, I knew that what time they needed to leave. I don't recall what time that was, but I knew they were supposed to have left already, and it went on for a bit.
Do you recall how that first fight or argument resolved?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I know that they left eventually, albeit late. I don't know how it really resolved, because I sort of made myself busy, but not going too far away from the door to make sure I saw them out.
All right, and then what about the second argument that you mentioned?
Second one, I was pretty much in the same vicinity, the same room on the ground floor.
They didn't really get to anything, but whatever.
Again, the couple were in the TV room, I think, which was off the main sitting room, early evening, and I was going about my early evening duties, replenishing drinks close by, lighting the fire, lighting candles, whatever it might have been. I was close enough to hear Miss Heard say, "Why did you take your hand away from me, Johnny? Don't you love me anymore?" Like, not in a playful way, I might add. And I think he replied, "Of course I do, don't be silly. Of course I do." And it kind of launched from that point. And at one point, Mr. Depp got up and went to the bathroom or went upstairs, and I was sort of scuttling around out of the way, because I wasn't there listening. I was just there doing my stuff.
Oh, come on.
In and around them. Yeah, it was a strange, sort of banal way to start an argument, but...
How would you describe Miss Heard's
hard
tone
cap.
when she said, "Why did you take your hand away, Johnny?"
Accusatory, spoilt teenage child, maybe. Is that fair? Pretty, not playfully, let's put it that way, more angrily.
Over the course of the 4 weeks in August and September 2014, when you were working with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard in London,
Yes.
did you ever observe any physical violence of any kind between the two of them?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever observe any injuries on either one of them?
No, neither of them.
Okay. After those 4 weeks, did you ever work for Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard again?
I did, a couple of occasions. The following year was the first one, the following spring.
Okay, and where was that?
In Australia.
And was it unusual for you to be in Australia?
In Australia, maybe, but not unusual for me to travel for clients for my assignments to wherever it was needed.
Okay. How exactly did it come about that you were in Australia with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Towards the end of the London visit, Mr. Depp had kindly said, "Thanks so much for looking after us. We really like you. Maybe if you're free next year and we can arrange it, we can make it happen. Perhaps you'll be able to come to Australia with us. I've got to film Pirates 5. So I said, great, I'd love to. Obviously. I was freelance at the time, so it was going to be about 4 months' work, I think it was billed as. So I thought, yes, I wouldn't mind some of that. Thank you very much.
And where in Australia were you staying?
It was the Gold Coast. Yeah, it's all Brisbane area. Brisbane was the main airport, so it's about an hour's drive south of Brisbane.
Okay. And do you recall when you arrived?
I arrived on February the 4th. I know I flew on that day.
Okay. How did your job responsibilities in Australia compare to your job responsibilities in London?
Much the same, just on a bigger scale. The house was larger. There was a bit more setup to do, but essentially the same oversight of the house.
Wait, did he
responsible
clean
for it during the whole gig?
And were you employed by Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard?
No.
Who were you employed by?
Essentially by Disney, the production company affiliated with Disney, who were making the movie. I think their name was Herschel, was the production company.
Okay. Now, I think you said you arrived in Australia on February 4th, 2015?
Correct.
Do I have that right?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. How about Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard? When did they arrive?
The setup for us was about a few weeks. I think they arrived towards the end of February 2015.
And between your arrival and their arrival, what had you been doing?
Just setting up the house. I lived on site. There was a guest house on site, a 2-bedroom, single-story guest house that I stayed in for those first couple of weeks, setting up the house and just getting everything ready during that time.
Yes, I want to talk to Addie, but there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot.
I mean, a lot of the crew, the chef had an apartment. We all had apartments about a 30-minute drive south of the house.
Okay. And so we're talking about this house in Australia. So
Yes.
can you kind of describe that property to us?
Yes, it was a large house on a few acres of land. A 3-story house, 5 bedrooms, with 2 or 3 buildings within the grounds as well. A good-sized house, beautiful location.
How many entrances would you say it had?
Entrances, many. I mean, many certainly on the lower ground level out to the garden. On the first or on the main floor level, there was many entrances. I mean, every room in that house had a balcony at least.
Relevance, you'll see.
Every room on the lower ground floor had a sliding door or a door out. The utility room, the garage.
No, weird questions. It's just setting it up.
Gym, everything. Obviously the front door. Many. On the main level, the large glass sliding doors out to the pool area, which had a gazebo and steps down to the ground.
Relevance? Think about a question
Once
like...
Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard arrived to stay at this house, was anybody else staying in the house?
Staying in the house, no.
Was anybody else staying on the grounds?
On the property, yes. I mean, there was a couple there, caretaking couple, Sean and his wife,
Can't talk.
Sandra, who worked for the owner of the house. They lived on site essentially all the time. They were there pretty much throughout. And their house was, a couple of 100 yards away from the main house. And yes, security were there also.
All right, sticking with the caretaker just briefly, about how long would you estimate it would take to walk from the main house to the caretaker's house?
Under 5 minutes. I mean, yeah, no more than 5 minutes.
That's crazy land, though.
And then you mentioned security. What was the security setup?
Security was set up by Jerry Judge. They were employed. They stayed in the grounds for the duration. They didn't come into the house. They had a little sort of shack round by the perimeter wall.
Jesus.
Where they would start their patrols from, walk around the grounds, around the exterior of the house at certain times of the day, write their reports, and go back and stay in their shack.
And how many security guards would be on site at any particular time?
I think one in the day and one in the night, so they did sort of 12 hours about, as I remember it.
But it was 24/7?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Do you know whether those were local employees or were they regularly employed?
I believe they were Australian, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you said you were not on the property 24/7, right? You had an apartment elsewhere?
Correct, yeah. I kept the same hours as I did in London, essentially. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, not quite, but 7, 8 a.m. till evening, till everything was set up and I could leave.
Oh, wow, okay.
And did you have an opportunity when you were in Australia to observe Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's interactions with each other?
Yes, of course.
And how would you describe them?
Initially very good, like in London, it seemed very pleasant towards each other.
Did you observe any arguments?
Yes, I had several.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about those?
Miss Heard.
Yes, a similar pattern, it seemed, to London arguments.
Uh-oh, here comes.
One in particular was very similar to the second one in London. Started in the TV room, funnily enough. Loud voices, and Mr. Depp leaving the room, shutting the door, going to another room to play his guitar or, to a bathroom, whatever. And Miss Heard closely following and opening the door or certainly rapping on the door. It seemed to continue.
Given us an estimate about how many arguments you think you observed in this time frame, approximately?
Several. I mean, we were there for several months, so certainly many more than in London.
Did you observe any alcohol consumption in Australia by either of them?
Yes, again, Ms. Heard, I was, again, part of my responsibilities was to provision the house and have everything set up for that. So I regularly brought red wine for Miss Heard, which she consumed, the same amount as in London, I think.
And what amount is that?
Generally speaking, 1 or 2 bottles a day.
A day? Jesus.
Did you ever observe Mr. Depp start any arguments with Ms. Heard?
No.
Oh, sorry, hold on, objection.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, could you put your mic, there we go.
Leading, objection leading.
I'll sustain this to leading if you want.
Okay, we can move on.
New question. Okay.
Do you remember anything about Friday, March 6th, 2015?
It was essentially a normal Friday, if you like, end of the week.
Oh, he knows.
Nothing extraordinary about that day.
Did you come into work that day?
Yes, yeah, I was there.
Okay. Do you recall about what time you would have left the house on that date?
I remember taking a photo of a beautiful sunset over the pool. The sun would set over the pool and the creek. I took a photo of that around early evening, so 6:37. I would think I wouldn't have left much later than that.
Was Mr. Depp there when you left?
6:37,
I
of
don't
course.
think so. I think Mr. Depp was at the studio still on that day. I can't remember sort of seeing him to say goodbye. No, have a good weekend.
How about Miss Heard? Do you recall if she was there when you left?
Yes, she was.
Okay.
Oh no, is she gonna...
Did anything unusual happen that weekend?
Yeah, I would say something pretty unusual happened.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I can.
Foundation.
All right, foundation.
Oh, here comes the objections, boys.
At some point, did you become aware that something had happened between
Yes.
Mr. Depp and Ms.
To the
Heard?
extent it calls for hearsay.
All right. I'll sustain that objection.
All right, turning to the following Sunday.
Ms. Williams, how much more do you have? Because it's time for our afternoon break. If
I think we can... I have a little bit more, Your Honor, so I think maybe this would be a good time for a break.
All right, let's go ahead and take our afternoon 15
Good, I can talk to
minutes break,
Addie.
ladies and gentlemen. Again, do not talk to anybody at the case and don't do any outside research, okay? You're excused, thank you.
I gotta stand. When? we chilling now. We good. We good. I'm gonna mute now. Ooh, cameraman, dude, look at that zoom in though. That's mechanics. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Addy, I have a few questions. If you guys don't know, because I have Addy with us, you guys. She helps and is in charge of the broadcast, believe it or not, from her basement. Addy is in the realm of law, with the Law and Crime Network, and they have a crew over there, right? That are like broadcasting, and she has the broadcast run. I think, is that right?
Yes, we have. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We have an entire network that is based in New York. They have a huge studio where we have commentary with hosts and guests and everything. And on top of that, we also send crews into courtrooms and go into the trials with reporters and our cameras and equipment and everything, and then transmit the trials back to New York. And then I run the encoders from a remote computer from my basement. So I run all I created 4 channels for our network, and I run all 4 from my basement.
Wait, well, that's actually kind of that's kind of a lot of work, isn't it?
It is. It can be quite a lot, and this has been a huge trial for us. We hit our 1 million subscribers thanks to you guys, probably.
Oh, well, congratulations. Are you going to get the plaque, or they get the plaque? Who gets the plaque?
I get to get one, too.
What? Oh, yeah, because all the editors and anybody involved with the channel get one.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's so sweet. Okay, that's really cool. Okay, so, how did you come across all this? Are you like more IT or more law? Since you know how to run all this, are you more like tech, or you're more into like law and that realm?
Okay, this is an odd story. This is how it started for me. My friend and I created a YouTube channel back in 2015 and a website for trial watchers. Her name was Kathy Rustin. She's now the executive producer of Law and Crime. But she and I had a channel and a website called Court Chatter. Dan Abrams of Life PD found us and liked what he saw, took Kathy as Court Chatter acquired our website channel that you guys are now sitting on. It's the channel I created in 2015 for a tiny little Court Chatter thing that has become a part of Law and Crime now, the Law and Crime Network.
Well, that's really cool.
Yes. So I've been running it since 2015. So that's 7 years plus 5. 2017 is when Dan Abram brought us in and we became part of the network. We have a huge staff in New York and it's continually growing. And we might be looking to maybe move over and looking at some other platforms. I'm just going to put that right there for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys could, there's so much content with this, right? There's like
Yes.
probably like podcasts and other types of series that you guys could have. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, so how do you know so much about law overall? Is it because you watched so many law, or did you have an affinity for law before you created channels and whatnot?
I started watching trials when, well, for me, it was a long time ago. I'm an old lady. I'll just put that out there. I have a friend who lost a niece to a serial killer in 1984 and started going to the trial with her on that. And it just sort of became a thing that I got interested in because of that. And then didn't do anything for a long time until a trial came around called the Jodi Arias trial. And that's when I really started watching trials, that because it was online, you could go and watch people stream it like what we do. And I just got really into it. And then I met my friend Kathy Russin, and we did what we did, made the channel, started all that. And then over the years, I've just consumed so much about, law and practices and stuff. She's much better than I am. She has a much better memory, but it's just from years of watching.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I started having like an interest for like all this like the law stuff, and I watch also a channel called JCS where they do criminal interviews with some of the crazies that do horrendous acts, and they're pretty interesting. It's also been a lot of fun watching these trials because as somebody who doesn't know much, I feel like there's so much depth to this that I can't really wrap my head around. So that's why I had a lot of questions about the proceedings, because in a trial like this, like I don't know what they're trying to achieve and how they get there, you know. So what do you think? If you could break us down, what do you think is the main goal that both parties are trying to actively achieve? Just like a baseline thing, like the foundation.
For this case, this is a different trial for us. We usually do criminal cases. Our network usually does, like, you know, serial killers, big time murder cases, that kind of thing. But this is a defamation case. This is a civil case.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we're used to. So the thought process on this one is different. A lot of Justice for Johnny people, which, you know, we have both sides in the chat. I don't stop anybody. Everybody's opinion is welcome.
Respectfully.
Yes, respectfully, thank you. But yes, so in this case, I think that what they are trying to achieve on his side, he is simply trying to show that the op-ed, the article that was mentioned, even though it didn't mention him, was still defamatory towards him. Right. And she is trying to prove that it not only is it not, but that he was the one who was the abuser.
Okay, now
and
continue.
I struggle with that one. I will just say that I struggle with it, with what her angle is, knowing what we know about her, and her past and everything. It's a little difficult for me to wrap my head around that. I've been following Johnny Depp for a long time. I'm trying to remain neutral in this case, and because being in the chat and whatever, I need to be neutral. And then afterwards, I can give my opinions and that kind of stuff. But in this case, it's difficult because we know where he comes from. Right. We know his past and everything. And we also know what's gone on with her as well. So my issue is I want to see what happens at the end of this. If he does not win this case, I think his sole purpose of this will be accomplished because he will have gotten his story out there, and I think that is what he's doing with this.
Okay, yeah, that was a little bit the idea that I had with the whole thing. Thank you. Now this brings me to my next following question, which is also I think very important for me to understand and people to understand, is in a case like this where it's defamation is the main point, right? Okay, so defamation, does it have any sort of restrictions? What I mean by that is that, let's say you spit in my face, and you actually did, right? And I went to a news article and I said, Addie spit in my face, right? And that actually happened. Does it matter if it happened or not? Because defamation will happen regardless, correct?
Right. It is up to the jury to decide who's giving the truth here, who's saying what happened. Do they accept what happened? Do they see it? They're not supposed to include anything about a past, alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff, even though they are bringing all that in because that's what her side is bringing in as part of their reasoning behind why she says he did what he did.
Understood. Sorry for cutting you off. Yeah, it's just maybe a language thing, vocabulary. I didn't know that. So basically, defamation would have to be in the basis of a lie. It would have to be not truth. But you are allowed to say the truth, even if it ends up damaging somebody's reputation. Correct?
You want to make sure that in a defamation case. Let me actually, I'm going to do something real quick. I'm going to look up the definition and give you the actual words for it. This is one of the things I do when I'm running the channel, is to put this information in there so that people can see it. So let's see. Defamation is the action of damaging the good reputation of someone, slander or libel. So she sued him for defamation, means that because he lied, he slandered her name. Does it have to be truth? I kind of think that it doesn't necessarily have to. If you say something like you did such and such to me, but you did do it, but does that damage his reputation?
Exactly. So it doesn't really matter if it's true or not at that point, correct?
I'm kind of thinking like it's character assassination.
Exactly.
Does that make
so? Yeah. So in the other example, right? Even though you did do the act, if me talking about it in a way and reporting it ends up damaging your character and causing you a big loss, you could still potentially win that, right? Even though it actually happened.
Right. Also, in the key elements of defamation, this is key. A statement of fact. So that's the jury's goal, is to decide if they see that this actually is something that happened.
Okay.
Did she defame him in her thing? She didn't name him in the op-ed at all, but there was still a relationship at that time.
Okay. Okay. Again, now I understand the basis of it. Now, in that regard, what does Johnny need to do, objectively, to win this case that he's pursuing? What he's trying to do, how does he get there to a win in his standpoint?
He has to prove that op-ed was defamatory against him. That's the whole key of this whole thing.
That's it.
Yes, because this is all based on the op-ed that was put out by Washington Post.
Okay, so I mean, then directly he has to prove that whatever was said in that was also not true.
Right. And her side is to say, well, I think she's trying to bring her side into to say that I did go through these things. I did this because in her thing she's put herself in the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
So if this ends up being defamatory, and they prove that there was no abuse to her, that could be damaging to her too. She's put herself in a situation that. But I think for her to do that, she has to get the jury to see that there is what in most trials you'll hear a thing called reasonable doubt.
Right.
And beyond all reasonable doubt is where her side would want to be. They want to prove that he did these things. He wants to prove that she did defame him. You see what I mean? So
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, exactly.
She's also countersuing him. So she has a law thing out there. She has a thing out there against him too. He's going for 50 million. She's going for 100 million, I think it is.
Yeah, these are like blown up out of proportion numbers a little bit. Are they not?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I don't think I don't have any sides here, but I don't think she needs anybody to defame her. I think some of the testimony in there was kind of outlandish in some of the actions that she has committed, respectfully.
Right.
Yeah, which is a little bit odd. Okay, then I have another question. I would assume it'd be very difficult to prove beyond reasonable doubt that there was defamation and the damage that it caused, right? I mean, I imagine these are like difficult cases to win, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what kind of strategy is the side of Miss Heard going with to disprove and say no to these claims?
That is, we shall see.
Oh, we don't know yet.
Right, because we're still in his case. His lawyers are still up. He has this witness and maybe a few more witnesses. Once his case ends and their side rests, then it will turn to her side, and then her lawyers will go, and then they'll have their witnesses and probably do the same thing. I don't think she'll be one of the first. She may be more towards the end of her case. Like in this case, I'm surprised to see that they had witnesses after he took the stand, because usually in a case, especially in a criminal case, you want to see the side who gets up on the stand to testify be one of the last ones to speak, so that those words are fresh in the minds of the jury. And that's the key. The key is also, here's another thing. This jury was probably picked for the simple reason that they don't really know that much about him or her, because that's how they chose the jury.
Yeah, so that's interesting. It makes a lot of sense that they sorry for cutting off again. That you have to pick people that are impartial in that case. So, how much do you think would be accurate? Like, do you think sometimes there are people that aren't impartial and non-biased? Did they like slip through the cracks, or is it like done super thoroughly and super well?
Case where things have happened with juries. I couldn't name them off the top of my head, but we have heard that there have been jurors who have gotten through that maybe shouldn't have been on the trial because they had issues in their past that they didn't disclose. Not in this case, but in general, in other cases that we've covered or reported on with our network, that they will say one thing to get on the jury, and then it gets found out or whatever. Mistrials have happened because of it. You really, that's why they really question the jury as best they can. And they need jurors to be honest and forthcoming with whatever is in their past. Sometimes people are trying to get off of juries, sometimes, which is it's not easy to be a juror. It's very hard. This is a 6-week case.
Yeah, and they're not paid a lot, are they?
Oh, no. Yes, exactly. No, they give up a lot to do their civic duty.
Yeah, I heard in California it was $15 per day that you do this.
That's true. Yes. Some places less than that.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. In Quebec, I don't think it's that bad. It's a good amount plus expenses for travel. But okay. So how many in the jury box? How many people are there exactly?
A jury will consist of you have your 12 jurors, and then you'll have alternates. So they'll choose. They could have some depends on the length of the trial, how much how that kind of thing. You have to give thought to the fact that people could get sick. We're in the middle of the issue with the pandemic and all that stuff. So they will add on extra prospects to. Sorry, I put.
Don't worry about it. No problem.
They will add on extra to pick from what are called alternates. So if
subs.
Let's say there's 16 jurors, but 12 are going to be, and no one knows who's going to be the 4 alternates. Not usually until after a trial is done. Then actually they're starting to come back into.
Yep. No, about it. Okay. If this is like a flat moment, I'll hop back with you and ask you more questions. Is that okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you very much for doing this, by the way. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for coming on.
Talk to you in a bit.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Who is that? Like I said, it's the person who is running this channel, and according the broadcast from the images that are sent from by the team that is there physically and broadcasting the images, and she organizes all that, and she has all the channels that broadcast this live. Oh my god. Man.
All right, you have a seat. Your next question, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sit down.
Mr. King,
Yes.
before we went on break, we were discussing Friday, March 6th, 2015.
Right.
After you left the house that evening, when did you next see Ms. Heard?
Sunday the 8th.
And where did you see Ms. Heard?
At the house.
Uh-oh.
What were your typical hours?
Monday to Friday from 7 or 8 a.m. till the end of play each evening, early evening usually.
Why were you at the house that Sunday?
I was called to the house by one of Mr. Depp's assistants.
And about what time did you arrive at the house?
Around 2 o'clock, 2:30.
Who was there when you arrived?
Debbie Lloyd was there. David Kipper was there. Amber Heard was there. Jerry Judge was there.
And I think by now probably everybody's familiar, but can you just very quickly say who those people are?
Sure. Debbie Lloyd was a nurse. David Kipper was Dr. David Kipper. Miss Heard was Miss Heard, and Jerry Judge was head of security.
And when you arrived at the house on Sunday, March 8th, 2015,
Okay.
What did you do?
I just parked up and went into the house.
And did you observe anything when you went into the house?
Yeah, I mean, initially I walked into the front door. Initially I heard, rather than saw anything, I could hear pretty hysterical sobbing, crying, which sounded like Miss Heard to me. I heard Jerry Judge's voice. There's a few steps as you go up into the house, so you can't immediately see what's going on. But so I went up the steps. I could see then Miss Heard over on the right-hand side, over towards the TV room with Jerry Judge. David Kipper was in the kitchen area, which was
can you
pretty
edit
much
them doing
directly
something?
ahead as you
Like
walk
playing
up
a game or something?
those steps.
And were you able to visually see Miss Heard?
Yes,
Because it's funny.
And you were able to hear her as well?
absolutely.
How would you describe her demeanor?
Hysterical, probably the best way to describe it. Crying a lot, and just crying uncontrollably. I think it's fair to say.
And how would you describe Jerry Judge's demeanor when he was speaking with her?
He was just keeping her calm, saying, "It's all right, love. It will be all right." Jerry was good, like big heart. Jerry, he's a good guy. He was calm. Jerry was always calm. Well, mostly.
And what did you do next?
I saw they were engaged across away there, so I went into the main kitchen area, which, as I said, was just directly ahead of those main steps, and spoke to David Kipper.
I saw this already.
And following that conversation, what did you do?
Well, he told me that Mr. Depp had...
Objection, hearsay.
All right.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay.
Guys, I don't think the Popo is there, right? Wasn't the Popo story at his Sweetster house or whatever? So it's not the right story, is it? That's at Penthouse 3. Yeah, so Australia is not Penthouse 3. Guys, there's a main house 1 or something. There's Island, there's Australia, there's Penthouse 1, 2, and 3. What else we got? There's Penthouse 4. And the shed, but that's in the compound. I don't think that matters that much. Go back to the playing, man.
So you can answer the question. What did you do next?
So I spoke to David Kipper, who was in the kitchen area, seemingly rummaging through a bin. He said Mr. Depp had sustained an injury to his finger, one of his fingers, and he was looking for the fingertip that had been severed. So I said, well, shall I help you? As one would. And he said, yeah, that would be a good idea. I left him in the kitchen. He said there was a lot more damage downstairs. So I went to, we split up. He left him in the kitchen, and I went downstairs to search.
At some point, was Mr. Depp's fingertip found?
Yes.
Who found it?
I did.
And where did you find it?
Downstairs in the bar area, the games room bar area.
So, can you walk us through how you found it?
Yes, so I walked down the stairs. I mean, there was a bit of damage down the steps. That a big chunk had been taken out of the marble staircase. On my way down, remnants of what looked like a plant pot or something around it smashed.
I didn't know he.
Walking down into the bar, I could see the damage that Dr. Kipper had told me about. A broken ping pong table, sort of.
I didn't know it
collapsed
actually
onto the floor,
flew off.
and lots of glass and broken glass and cans strewn around the bar area.
I thought it was only flopping.
And where exactly was the finger in the bar area?
Directly below the bar. I mean, the bar was set up like a conventional bar that stuck out from a wall, and with a marble top. There's a big chunk out of that as well, like on the staircase. Directly at the end of the bar, there was a scrunched up piece of kitchen paper, if you like, tissue, with lots of blood around it, on it. So I thought that was probably a pretty good place to look. And it was within that scrunched up piece of paper on the tiled floor at the end of the bar, the base of the bar, by one of the bar stools.
Was there any property damage around the finger?
Yes, a fair bit. On the floor around the area, there were puddles of what smelt like alcohol to me. There were, it seemed like several drinking glasses, a couple of bottles. One was a Stolichnaya vodka bottle. And at the end of the bar, as I said, there was a big chunk out of the bar itself, the bar marble top. At the end of the bar, there was plaster damage right at the end of the bar on the wall. Behind the bar, smashed and cracked mirror. There's a blue mirror that stretched that whole span of behind the bar. Lots of cans again behind the bar on the floor. Broken window at the end of the bar.
So they rewired the whole
work
finger.
Damage on the wall above the sink. It was sort of a kitchenette bar, if you like, as well.
You mentioned a bottle of vodka. Was the vodka bottle intact?
No. No, nothing was really intact. The top of it, the top of a bottle was like, it had a label on it, which is how I knew it was a Stolichnaya bottle. It had that sort of squiggly S, sort of yellow top. There was a large chunk of a bottle, which I guess was the rest of that, and lots of other broken glass around the area.
After you found the fingertip in the bar area, what did you do next?
Well, I gathered it up in that kitchen paper and sort of took it upstairs. I might have shouted up to David Kipper, I found it. I'm not sure, but I walked back upstairs to the kitchen and got a bag, a little plastic bag, put the fingertip in there, set it on top of some ice in this plastic kitchen container, and pretty much handed it over to David Kipper and Jerry Judge, I think, at the time, who were keen to get it to the hospital quickly to see if it could be reattached.
Do you recall about what time you found Mr. Depp's finger in the bar area?
It was about an hour after I got there, so it would have been around 3:30, I would think, 3:20, 3:30.
Well, Jesus.
Now, you've told us a little bit about the state the house was in when you arrived.
Yes.
Can you generally describe for us, and maybe go level by level through the house, what damage you observed?
Sure. Do you want me to start at the lower ground floor in that bar area? I mean, I've described a lot of that.
Sure, that's fine.
It was pretty extensive
And
down
he's
there.
not
All that
sleeping,
broken
yeah.
glass, the blood. There are a lot of blood drips across that floor. It was a kind of cream-coloured tiled floor in that whole games area. As I said, the ping pong table was collapsed. Blood drips across the floor and around the bar.
Jesus, is this one dude.
And the damage on the walls, as I said, the plaster work at the end of the bar, behind the bar, and the chunk out of the marble top. So on the ground, that was the predominant damage in that area, on that level. On the next floor, on the main floor where David Kipper was, in the kitchen itself, again, there were a few broken glasses and cans on the floor, soda cans behind the kitchen island.
This is getting lengthy.
Chef's kitchen island.
This is getting lengthy, but
sort of puddles. There was a sitting room with a couch,
I know what
on
this
a
adds,
cream-colored
though.
couch, which had a fair amount of blood drips on the cushions, and that was obvious. The TV, which was directly in front of that wall-mounted TV, was cracked with, it seemed like remnants of a coffee cup embedded in some of it, and the rest was below, looked like coffee splattered behind and underneath the TV, and on the floor as well. Through there, we'd set up an art studio, so a lot of the art materials from that, paintbrushes, paint, various art materials were on the floor. A lot of paint on the floor.
So this didn't happen?
Blood drips throughout that area as well, especially over there's a vast sort of wooden parquet floor. There was a lot of oil paint and blood drips.
But in the recording, she doesn't deny it and knows it's happening
In
and
one of
doesn't
the
say anything about
bedrooms, there were
it.
2 bedrooms off of the main kitchen area. One of those bedrooms had blood drips on the duvet, and a lamp had seemingly been broken.
She was recording.
Shade was removed. There were a couple of lampshades in the art studio area on the floor. That was about the extent of the damage. Going upstairs to the next level, there was a few blood smears on the wall and on the drips of the stairs going up. Again, a cream-colored carpet, which is not ideal. And so that's the top floor was the master bedroom, master suite floor, and 2 bedrooms also.
Yeah, he's
up
playing
there.
Clash Royale on the second phone. Chill out.
Outside the master bedroom, there was damage to the plaster work on a pillar outside on the wall. Blood drips into the master bedroom, across the master bedroom floor. Going into the master bathroom, there was a his and hers sink and a mirror, a large mirror above each of the sinks that had writing on each of them. Again, that one of the bedrooms, or both of the bedrooms, I think, had blood on the duvet covers, and another lamp was broken. Mr. Depp's guitar was in one of those bedrooms, a blood-stained guitar. His iPad was standing up on one of the beds in one of those bedrooms. That's about the extent of it.
That's the damage
on each level, yeah.
Whose job was it to clean all that up?
That was mine. That was mine. My responsibility. The house was essentially my responsibility.
That was
So
like
you
my
were
man.
familiar? Were you familiar with the damage generally throughout the house?
I got a pretty good idea as I walked around and saw it all, yes.
Did you observe any damaged phones?
No.
Did you observe any damage to a wall where a phone might have been ripped off the wall?
No.
Bleeding.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Maybe the next one. Okay.
Was there any artwork in this house? Decorating the house?
The owners had left their art in the house, yes. Mr. Depp and Miss Heard had done some artwork themselves, yes. But, yes, there was some that came with the house, if you like.
Focusing just on the artwork that came with the house, did you observe any damage to any of that?
No, nothing that I needed to repair or replace. Certainly not. Thank goodness.
This guy.
Is there any other damage that comes to mind?
Just a lot of blood, a lot of repairs. The floor, as I said, was quite heavily with blood and paint. Yeah.
And in terms of bodily fluids, it was just blood that you observed, no urine or anything else?
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right, I'll sustain the,
fine.
I'll strike the answer from the record.
Because this guy, he's like a butler guy.
No other damage. Does any other damage come to mind?
No.
He's Johnny's butler. or their households. But
Can we take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 375, which I believe is already in evidence? And can we publish this to the jury?
No, yeah. Housekeeper, same as butler, pretty much.
Mr. King, are you familiar with the image that's on the screen in front of you?
Yes, that's one of the mirrors I was telling you about in the master bathroom.
And so, were you involved in cleaning any of this up?
I cleaned both of those mirrors at some point that evening, that night. Yes.
Were you able to tell what was used, or what substance what sort of the ink is that's used on the black writing there?
Guys, any is a picture of that?
The same oil paint that was on the floor, on the parquet floor downstairs, and various other places. It was the same oil
No,
paint.
fucking dude, not this.
All right.
Fucking-
How about the red writing that says, "Call Carly Simon. She said it better, babe." Were you able to tell what was used to make that writing?
Lipstick, I believe.
Foundation.
Is it TOS?
He's testified that he was cleaning it up.
I'll allow it. That's fine. Go ahead.
It certainly seemed like lipstick to me, red lipstick. It was quite waxy. I remember taking that off. It seemed like lipstick.
Okay, we can take that down.
I can show it. Can I show it?
Mr. King, about how long were you at the house on that Sunday?
Quite a long time. It actually went into the early hours of Monday morning, so at least I got there around 2 in the afternoon of Sunday. I don't think I left there until 2 or 3 o'clock the next morning of the 9th.
Over the course of the time that you were there that day, did you have any interactions with Miss Heard?
Yes, I certainly did.
Can you describe those for us, please?
Yes, not too much initially. She was very, as I said, quite hysterical and crying a lot, and Jerry Judge was taking care of her, keeping her calm. Later in the evening, it was suggested that Miss Heard go to a local hotel, to leave the house, go to a local hotel, which then became a suggestion that she go back to LA. And that's, I think, when I started interacting in terms of, at some point I volunteered to travel with her to LA.
LA.
How did Miss Heard respond to the suggestion that she leave for Los Angeles?
She was resistant to both of those suggestions, very
it.
resistant. She really didn't want to go and said, I can't leave. You know, it'll be the end if I leave. Those sorts of things. And so it was just, these went over a few hours. There's negotiations, if you like. And eventually, Ms. Heard agreed that I would fly with her.
And did you, in fact, fly with her?
I did, on Monday the 9th.
Okay. Sticking with Sunday, when you were interacting with her on that Sunday, how close were you to her?
Very close, very close, in front of her.
And do you recall observing any injuries on Miss Heard?
No, none whatsoever.
Did you notice anything unusual about her physically at all?
No, she was obviously crying a lot. She had red eyes, and but no, otherwise no.
Okay. So what happened the following day, that Monday, March 9th, I guess it would be, 2015?
Right. So, it was eventually agreed that I would fly with Miss Heard. So I had to at some point go back to my apartment, drive to my apartment to pick up my passport, which, funnily enough, I hadn't brought with me.
Huh?
And some clothes, a bag to take. So I think I left the house early hours, as I said, 2, 3, may have been a bit later, a.m. I drove back to my apartment, which was 30 minutes drive south, picked up those things. I didn't know how long I was going to go for, but I knew I was traveling, so passport, quick shower, pick up a bag of clothes, and I drove back up to the house. I don't recall exactly what time I arrived there, but I know we had to leave. All the arrangements were being made by the travel agent, and Jerry Judge was liaising with them to make the flight arrangements, and which I believe was going mid to late morning. So I think we had to leave the house around 7 or 8 a.m. that morning. Monday.
He's doing pretty good though.
And did you travel to the airport with Miss Heard?
Yes, we were driven.
How would you describe her demeanor that morning?
Calmed down a fair bit. She was mostly on the phone, to be honest, for pretty much the whole of that car journey, to various people, one of which I believe was Mr. Depp.
Ooh,
do you recall her saying anything on the ride to the airport about what had happened the night prior?
Nothing really mentioned in that as way of an explanation, no.
What happened when you got to the airport, if anything?
We were running a bit late, but I remember that. Luckily, we were traveling first class, so the driver knew to pull up to a kind of VIP, for want of a better word, VIP check-in point. And so the car got pretty close to where the desk was. Miss Heard was still on the phone, and so we sat there for a bit with the driver, and Miss Heard was talking. I don't know who to at that point.
Yes, I love how probably nobody can relate to any of this
we need
in
to
the
make
room.
this flight actually pretty soon.
Security,
We're already
butlers,
running a bit late.
agents, flying, shit like that.
So I decided to go in. Maybe I can go in, check in our bags ahead, and then come back and get Miss Heard. She should be finished by then, which is what I did.
And did you eventually get on the plane?
Eventually we did. It was a close call, to be honest.
Once you were on the plane, did you have any conversations with Miss Heard?
Yes, I mean, not initially, which took some time in the bathroom. She was on the phone again to the point where the cabin crew had to sort of tap on the door and say, we need to leave now.
Andy, you have
needs
to
sit
accept my
down.
friend request.
She did come to sit down, after 10 or 15 minutes in there. And so eventually, and luckily, as I said, we were flying first class, which was lovely. She was in the window seat, like I think it was 1A, 1B window seat. I had the aisle seat. And finally, we could both sit down, and in way of conversation, wasn't a great deal, to be honest. I did sort of say finally, so what happened? Obviously referring to the house. And I mean, she didn't give much explanation, if any. She did say, Ben, have you ever been so angry with someone you just lost it with them? And I sort of said, no, actually, I'm pretty calm, even-tempered guy. But she did repeat it. She looked pretty incredulous that I hadn't, and she repeated it. You mean you've never lost it with somebody, got so angry with someone you just lost it with them? And I said, unless you count the sort of time when I was 14 years old and I hit the light switch in my bedroom because I wasn't allowed out that night or something. With a person, no, never. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation.
He did what now?
How would you describe her tone when she asked those questions of you?
To me, incredulous, would be fair to say. Surprised that I hadn't lost it with somebody.
Does anything else stand out about that flight?
It was fairly calm. After that, it was calm, but I mean, we were both exhausted. I certainly was, and I think, I can't remember eating either, just slept most of the flight until obviously we landed, or were close to landing.
At any point, did you observe anything about Miss Heard physically on that flight?
Yes, I did. right toward just before we landed, I noticed some marks on her arm, her left forearm.
How would you describe those?
Long, kind of uniform, evenly spaced, sort of long, thin marks. Very uniform, in fact.
And when did you first notice those?
On the plane towards coming into land, we're gathering the stuff up. I noticed them then.
What did you do after you landed in Los Angeles?
Once I'd fired up my phone on landing, I saw the arrangements that we would be picked up by one of Mr. Depp's security personnel, who I think was Travis McGivern. So I made contact with him, and he met us in the place that had been arranged. We walked through the arrivals lounge and met him at the end of that. Got in the car with him and drove to the Eastern Columbia building.
And how would you describe Miss Heard's demeanor in Los Angeles?
Yeah, pretty calm. I mean, she seemed, obviously a lot calmer from the house, but she pleasant towards Travis, certainly in the car. Obviously they knew each other. When we got to the building, she was kind enough to show me around the apartment. I'd never been before. She showed me around the penthouse, a little tour. She wrote down some restaurants recommendations, because she knew I'd be staying a few days, probably. So, and I don't really know LA that well. So she recommended a few restaurants. And then I left. I said, if you need anything, as usual, as I always did, need anything, give me a shout. I'll be staying fairly close by. Just give me a call or a text.
How long were you in LA?
Less than a week. I think I flew back to Australia on the 14th or 15th. So about 5 days, 6 days tops.
And when you got back to Australia, what were you doing?
Pretty much putting the house back together, repairing all the damage with the help of professional contracted vendors I brought in, and just getting the house back as it was originally.
At some point, did Mr. Depp and Miss Heard return to Australia?
Yes, they did.
Were you there when they returned?
Yes.
Did you observe them interacting with each other after they came back to Australia?
Yes.
I'm on Amber's side because she's cute.
And how would you
I'm gonna
describe
give you a
their
3D
interactions?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you Prima.
Again, initially, those first few days were certainly very pleasant, almost honeymoon-like, I would say. It strolled around the grounds a bit, and they seemed fine with each other.
Did you ever observe any arguments after they returned?
Yes. I mean, many. Several more, yeah.
And how would you describe those?
More.
Not dissimilar to the London arguments in terms of the pattern of those, the sort of provocation and the reaction that leave the room, Mr. Depp leaving the room,
and her
going
chasing
to another room, playing his guitar, seemed to follow the same pattern as that, as I witnessed those 2 times in London.
All right. Nothing further.
All right, cross-examination.
Okay. So now they cross.
Good afternoon.
And then they can recross as well, right? If they.
To understand your testimony, is it your testimony that Amber and Mr. Depp arrived together in Australia in February of 2015?
Initially, together I don't think so. I think Mr. Depp arrived ahead of Ms. Heard, actually.
Mr. Depp arrived first, correct?
I think so, yeah.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard, Amber didn't arrive until March 5th, 2015 to Australia?
I can't remember the date she arrived, to be honest.
But she could have arrived March 5th, 2015, isn't that true?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Ooh, this guy is going hard right off the bat.
March 5th, 2015, correct?
It's possible, I suppose.
And isn't it true then that you didn't see any arguments between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp before the injury that occurred to Mr. Depp's finger in Australia?
I saw them argue.
You saw them argue when they came back, in April, correct?
I certainly saw them argue in April and through most of the months they were there, yes.
But you don't remember, you can't recall any arguments in February or March of 2015 between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, correct?
Specific days? Not necessarily, no.
Right, so that you don't know, you can't say that there were any arguments before you came to the house on March 8th, 2015, correct?
I think there were, I mean...
Excuse me, say that again?
I think there were.
But you don't even know when she arrived, correct?
This guy just create a narrative and saying correct. It's kind of leading.
Necessarily, no.
Okay. And you said when you arrived at the house on March 8th, when you eventually found the finger, it was wrapped in paper, is that right?
Wrapped, I mean, it was loosely wrapped. The paper was open by that point. The blood had dried up and it was sitting in the sort of nest of this paper, yes.
So like someone had put the finger in a piece of paper?
I don't know. I mean, it was in that piece of paper.
It was in a piece of paper, okay. So, but again, like someone had wrapped it up, is that right?
I don't know. It was within that scrunched up piece of paper, kitchen paper, tissue.
So it was in kitchen paper, is that right?
Well, tissue paper. It was white with a lot of blood on it.
So like a paper towel?
Like a piece of kitchen towel.
When you say kitchen towel, our language is made, even though we both speak English, I may stay a little different.
No, you should not. He speaks English, you're just being a fuck ass.
Like kitchen paper, kitchen towel, yes.
Okay.
Like a tissue.
And was there that sort of paper towel in the kitchen at the house at the time?
Yes, in both areas, the kitchen and the bar.
Okay. You said you were in Australia starting in February of 2015, correct?
Correct. I arrived on the 4th of February.
And Mr. Depp arrived sometime after that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see Marilyn Manson while you were there?
No, I didn't.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was with Marilyn Manson in late February?
Oh, I see where they're going with this.
Objection, foundation, speculation, relevance.
Damn, triple.
He said he saw him every day, so I was asking if he saw.
I'll allow the question if you can answer it. That's fine.
Marilyn Manson didn't come to the house. I didn't see him at any point.
Do you know if Mr. Depp left to be with Marilyn Manson?
I don't know. I didn't always know where he was going. If he went out, it was either to work or the security would go with. I wouldn't generally go. In fact, I don't think I went out with him at all in Australia.
And you didn't go out with Mr. Depp at all when he was in Australia, correct?
I don't recall it. I saw him on set once or twice, yeah.
So you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing in Australia unless you saw him at the house or on set, is that right?
I saw him at the house, yes, every day.
But you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing when he left the house, correct?
Generally going to work on Pirates of the Caribbean 5 filming, yes.
But were you with him?
No, but the security with him, and I had to liaise with him for when he would go and when he would come back for the driver, etc.
But you weren't there when Mr. Depp left the house, correct?
Generally, I didn't go.
Is this guy okay?
With Mr. Depp on those days, no.
I just want to make sure. I want to be clear. There were two kind of periods that Mr. Depp was in Australia in 2015, right?
Sorry, say again.
Mr. Depp was in Australia from sometime in February 2015.
It's not strategy. He wants to hear his answer.
March 9th.
Because he knows.
He injured his finger, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And then Mr. Depp left Australia too, correct?
At some point he flew to LA, yes.
And then Mr. Depp returned to Australia on April 21st, right?
Okay, that sounds about that time. I don't know the specific date. I don't recall.
And the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, right?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I didn't get... Oh, sorry.
There's objection.
You recall testifying to that in the UK?
I'll overrule the objection if you can answer it.
That the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, 2015.
I wasn't involved in the filming schedule. I didn't know when it resumed, to be honest. I knew Mr. Depp would come back to resume filming, for sure.
This guy's off his rockers.
You didn't live with Mr. Depp in his house in Australia, correct?
Live with? No, I wasn't resident there.
Who is this bozo?
When you arrived at the house, you saw a significant amount of damage, correct?
Yes, through the course of, after I arrived, yeah.
Okay. And the scene was chaos, correct?
Chaos, I mean, there was a fair amount of damage.
The house was wrecked?
There was a lot of damage in the house, yes.
And the house was not in a good state, correct?
Asked and answered.
There was a lot of damage throughout the house.
You gotta object first. And then
That's 3 times 10 questions.
objection,
literally.
and it helps. Okay. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay. And you said there was glass on the floor, correct?
In a few areas, mainly predominantly in the bar, yes. Down in the lower ground floor, correct.
Okay, and there was blood on the walls, correct?
In various places, blood on the floor, blood on the walls.
And there was blood on the walls throughout the 3 stories of the house, isn't that right?
No, I wouldn't say that was the extent of it. There were smears up the staircase going up to the master from the main level. There were smears and drips on the carpet.
So there were smears from the master level up to the bedroom area? I mean, from the main level up to the bedroom area, is that right?
Up to the 3rd floor, yes.
Like someone had walked from the main floor up to the bedroom floor, correct?
There was blood going up the steps.
You already explained, but this is cross-exam. He's trying to catch him in a lie or
smears where you might have
make him fuck it up.
As if someone was walking from the main level up to the master bedroom, correct? Is that what the blood was like?
He simplified his story earlier, so he's chilling.
Or down.
He's not gonna fall for this.
I mean,
Up or down, but
blood
from the
on
main
that
level
staircase.
from the main level to the 3rd floor, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you said the sofas were damaged, is that right?
One sofa in that sitting room, which was just off the kitchen, was quite an open plan thing. So off that, there was a sofa with a large TV on a wall-mounted TV in front of that sofa.
And the sofa was on the main level, correct?
Correct, just by the main kitchen, exactly.
And where the sofa was damaged, was that with what?
Blood.
Blood. Okay. And the lights were damaged?
Some lamps, a couple of lamps, yes.
Okay. And there were bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge, correct?
The fridge?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you see bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge?
The fridge?
Yes. I mean, there was. I don't completely understand what you mean.
You saw that, correct?
There was alcohol bottles. Yes, there was in the fridge.
Oh no, he fucking trapped him, dude.
There may have been a bottle of wine. I don't know.
And the floors were ruined, correct?
Ruined. I mean, there was a lot of damage on the floor, down in the bar area, and the staircase, and on the main floor area, on the wooden parquet floor. Correct.
And the floors were going to have to be sanded, correct?
I eventually got them sanded. Yes.
Okay. And you were there. I think you testified. It took you about 12 to 13 hours in the house cleaning up, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that is it your testimony that you didn't see any of the paintings damaged?
The existing paintings from the owners from the house no, none of them were damaged.
You didn't see any paintings with a painting of a penis drawn on it?
I did not, and thankfully that was something I didn't have to replace.
Do you know if anyone else saw
painting.
that?
Objection, speculation.
I mean, I would have seen it.
Whenever there's an objection, Mr. King,
I'm
just
so
need to
sorry.
stop. That's all right.
I'm sorry.
All right, if you stand, we can see you better when you do that.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. And
A
you said
penis.
that Jerry Judge was at the house, correct?
Correct.
And he's the head of Mr. Depp's security, correct?
Correct.
And
Correct.
Dr. Kipper was at the house?
Yes, he was.
And Debbie Lloyd was at the house as well, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Now, you understood that Mr. Judge saw scratches on Ms. Hurd on March 8th, correct?
Objection, hearsay, speculation, foundation.
All right. I'll sustain the objection.
Mods, we have a Jesse on
Did
Discord.
you have
Put him
the
in
cleaning
my
lady
voice,
was going to
please.
be coming to the house, correct?
The housekeeper?
Yes, the housekeeper.
Adele, the resident housekeeper. Yes, she was going to be. I mean, yes, she was employed through the week again. She wasn't there on weekends.
There was concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing everything that was in the house, correct?
Objection, speculation, foundation, vague.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. You can answer it.
Thank you. Concern. Sorry. what
There was
you-
concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing all the damage that had been done, correct?
I know that when I left to
This is interesting. I like this
fly
though.
to LA with Miss Heard,
Interesting
I told
strategy.
both the chef and the housekeeper they didn't need to be coming to the house because Miss Heard, essentially,
I
the
want to see what
principals
this
weren't
leads.
there. Mr. Depp wasn't there. Miss Heard was obviously with me at that point, so I said they didn't need to come to the house.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
Objection, hearsay.
It's his own statement.
His own statement. I'll allow it.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
I think I probably made a comment about, I should just come back and deal with this myself, if that's what you mean, and just get cleaned up.
And make sure that she wouldn't say anything, correct?
I don't know. I trusted her and the chef anyway. They were good team members.
As the house manager, part of your job is you said you work with high profile people, correct?
High profile, high net worth, I think is what I actually said.
Would you agree that one part of your job is to keep things discreet for your clients?
Of course, it's part of my job. Trust and discretion, yeah.
And Mr. Depp was your client, right?
I worked on an assignment on those occasions, yes. But I was self-employed at the time, yeah.
But in March 8th, 2015 in Australia, Mr. Depp was your client, correct?
Correct, essentially, yeah. And Miss Heard, both of them the principals.
Who paid? And do you know who paid for your services?
That doesn't matter.
As I said before, I was paid through Disney, who were making the Pirates of the Caribbean, their production company, which I believe was called Herschel.
Okay. And can we put up Defendant's Exhibit 377, which is already in evidence?
All right.
So he can't even say that he's his butler or his fucking housekeeper.
You gotta put on. That's here.
Mr. King, do you see Defendant's Exhibit 377 in front of you?
I do, yes.
And do you recognize this as a lampshade that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015?
Yes, it was, I believe, one of the lampshades that was missing from one of the lamps.
Okay. And did you see this painting on the lampshade?
I did, yeah. It was part of my walk around to see what...
And what floor was the lampshade on?
This was on where the art studio was, on that main level.
Yeah, so on the main level, okay.
Yes. Excuse me.
And was this, did you notice that it was dark paint that was on the lampshade?
It certainly looked like it, yes.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
I believe I did. Yeah, without seeing the metadata.
Okay. And can we put up Defendant's Exhibit 374, please?
Guys, is that blood that's written on the lamp? On the lampshade, I can see the picture. But...
And you recognize Defendant's Exhibit 374 as a mirror that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Yes, I do.
And this mirror was in the bathroom, correct?
Correct. There were two mirrors in the bathroom above each sink.
And this was on the top floor, correct?
The master bathroom,
The master
essentially.
bathroom. And the master bathroom, just so I'm clear, was on the top floor,
Top
right?
floor, correct.
And this painting said starring Billy Bob. Is that right? Is that what you recall?
Yeah, I don't know. I was writing.
Okay. And was this in the writing? Was it in paint?
I believe it was the same paint, the oil paint that was used on the other mirror that we saw earlier.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
Again, possible. I haven't seen the metadata, but yes, probably.
And let's put back up Defendant's Exhibit 375.
What the fuck is the metadata? Is that stuff that he has but he doesn't?
This writing was also in the master bathroom, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And could you tell if the black paint was on top of the red or under the red?
I didn't really
they know
analyze
what
it,
color
to be
was
honest.
yeah.
I just knew I was going to have to clean it up at some point.
Right, your whole concern was just cleaning up the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know who wrote what on this, on the mirror, correct?
No, I know that one was oil paint and the other red writing was lipstick.
And lipstick, you're not even sure of that. You just saw it was something sticky. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure it's waxy, you know, like
Waxy.
lipstick-like, same as the oil paint was oil paint-like.
Okay. Did you see paint? Did you see also any writing in blood?
Writing, not necessarily.
Okay. Now,
Jesus.
did you help when Miss Heard was leaving to go back to L.A.? You were with her, correct?
Correct.
Did you help her pack?
I think I may have done at that point, yes, I think I did.
Did you see, weren't Miss Heard's clothes ruined?
I didn't see any ruined clothes.
There wasn't paint on her clothes?
Not that I could see, not so much. Yeah, not at that point of packing, I mean.
There was paint in the tub, correct?
Say again, sorry.
There was paint in the tub in the bathroom, correct?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall one way or the other?
I don't recall being paint in the tub.
And it's your testimony that there was no paint or blood on Miss Heard's clothes, is that what you're saying?
Asked and
I
answered.
don't.
Yeah. Guys, is he doing this line of questioning
Now,
that was it correct to avoid
You
leading?
said you were in charge of the cleanup, correct?
Yes, it was my responsibility. The house was.
And you were working with Mr.
Correct.
With Mr. Judge and
Correct.
cleaning up the house, is that right?
On the day that I arrived there?
Yes.
Mr. Judge did help me at some point. Yes, sweeping up glass, etc.
And was there photos taken of more than the three pictures you've been shown?
Photos
Of the house.
By whom?
Did you take any pictures of the house?
I took a few, yeah, I mean, yes.
And did you take pictures other than the three that we saw?
I think I probably did as I was going around.
Do you know who you gave those pictures to?
No.
Do you know what you took the photos with?
My phone.
And who would you have sent those photos to?
I didn't send them to anybody at that point.
You just kept them?
Yes.
Did you show the photos to anyone?
No.
Do you still have the photos?
Yes.
Where are they on your phone still?
They're on one of my devices, yes.
Okay. Did you take a photo of the vodka bottle that you said was broken?
Yes.
And you have that photo?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't give that to anybody?
There are a fair few photos. I can show it to you now if you want.
How many photos did you have on your phone?
I don't remember the number, but probably more than 10.
Did anyone ever ask you for the photos?
Several of them, yes. Yes.
Did you give them to the people who asked?
Some of them, yes.
Not all of them?
I don't recall how many.
Who asked you for the photos?
I was involved in a case in London a couple of years ago.
Did you give the photo of the vodka bottle to the people that you were involved in the case in London?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled, all out.
Say again, sorry.
Did you give a photo of the vodka bottle to the people you were working with in London?
I don't recall which photos I gave them to.
What other?
I wonder where he's going with this.
Photos of the walls.
Where he's going with this? That he
The
manipulated
walls,
who?
certainly the smears of the blood and the damage, the plaster damage, yes.
Attempting to
you
make
took
the jury
photos of
question
the-
his testimony, right?
Walls with blood on it, is that right?
Yes.
And you took photos of the plaster, right, that was damaged?
At the end of the bar and in the bar, behind the bar, by the sink, yes.
And did you take photos of the ping pong table that you said was broken?
Yes. as part
All
of
the possible
bar
lies you
area.
could possibly get him to
Take
lie
photos
on
of-
to
there was a glass
discredit
table that was
the
broken too,
actual
correct?
end game,
Glass table,
the
I
real
think
big
it
questions,
was.
right?
Okay. Did you take photos of all the damage that was around the house?
Probably most of it, yes.
Okay. And the only time you gave those photos to anyone, you're saying, was in the UK case a couple years back?
I'd never shared them with anybody else, yes.
Okay. And it costs about $75,000 to clean up the damage, isn't that right?
I don't know the exact cost. I think I calculated at the time, after all the vendors had been and done their thing, it's about 50,000, I seem to recall.
Okay. Now, you said you flew back to Australia with Ms. Heard, correct?
I didn't fly back with Ms. Heard.
Flew back to LA from Australia, thank you, with Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were asleep for most of the flight, correct?
For a lot of it, I think it's a 14-hour flight, so I think we both slept for quite a lot of it, yeah.
You were exhausted from the 13 hours you were working on the house, right?
Correct.
All right. And your testimony was that Ms. Heard said to you, have you ever been so angry with someone that you just lost it, correct?
After I'd asked, so, what happened?
But you didn't inquire as to what she was referring to, right?
I mean, by what happened, it was pretty clear what I was referring to.
Let me ask again. You did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you?
What?
With her answer?
Nobody would fall for this. Nobody believes this, whatever you're fucking saying. It's just
inquire
that.
as to my reason for asking, but it was pretty obvious to both of us what I was asking and what her reply was.
Nobody buys his garbage. The fucking lawyer, dude. Please. Jesus. Like, it's not like you argued with somebody, or you yelled at him, or you pushed him.
Thank you.
She cut his finger off. You would know that the next time she talks about losing her shit, it's probably about the event, right? Something big you would remember. Something that's memorable. Like, dude. Remember that one time, dude, where I lost it and I cut this guy's finger off? Like, holy shit, dude. Christ, man.
Mr. King, you testified on behalf of Mr. Depp in the UK, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you provided 2 witness statements, correct?
Correct.
And then you provided testimony in court, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you take a look at
Yes, we have a lawyer on Discord now from the same
page
place.
1103
We can ask questions
of your testimony.
during recess.
You see how the pages go in 4s?
Yeah. No.
You see it's actually on the
Bottom right?
bottom right. You see that?
Yeah, I got it.
And if you actually look at, you see starting at the bottom of 1102, this was a statement when you said you did not.
Now he's trying to go for the home run, right?
You say, Ms. Heard asked you, have you ever been so angry with anyone that you lost it? Your answer, that's correct. And you specifically remember that, do you? Yes.
Here it comes.
You said it never happened to you. Answer, that is correct. Question, she did not, I mean, if it was said, nothing was said about who she was talking about, was it? Answer, she was asking me a question. Question, she was asking you a question. Answer, yes. Question, you did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you? I do not recall asking. I know that she was asking her a question and I gave her an answer. You see that?
Okay, this guy's talking to himself.
Okay, and that was your testimony you gave in the UK 2 years ago, correct?
Okay, nobody followed that. There's no shot.
So you don't know what Ms. Heard was talking about when she made that statement, correct?
Asked and answered.
You don't know if she was inquiring.
Asked and
if she was
answered?
making that statement about Mr. Depp, right?
Like I said, I'd asked the question, what happened, referring to the house, and she gave me that answer. So I think we were both, it was pretty clear to both of us what we were talking about. I mean,
And then you went to sleep.
at that point,
And then you went to sleep, and then you had the flight the rest of the time.
sometime after that, yeah.
Okay. Now, and you said you saw Ms. Heard with cuts on her arm, is that right? On the
That's
flight?
right, towards the end of the flight, yeah.
Okay. If we could put up 376G.
Guys, does he think he got him right here? Like a got him?
Do you recognize this picture?
What is it? Can you send it to me?
I've not seen this picture before.
Were these the cuts? Did you see cuts like this on Miss Heard?
Is that Miss Heard?
Why don't we put up 376C?
Wait, what? Is he pulling a Skamaz?
Do you recognize the person in that picture?
That's Miss Heard.
All right. And did you see cuts like that, which are on her left arm?
Is that it?
Similar to
You're
that,
so
long,
fucking
like I
dumb.
described earlier, long, thin cuts, pretty uniform cuts.
These were the cut. The cuts were like this on her kind of wrist, forearm area. Is that right?
I don't know what the date of this photograph is, but they look pretty uniform like they do here, yes.
Okay. I'd like to enter 376C into evidence.
Any objection?
No.
Okay, 376C in evidence.
What's that?
No, you can't change it.
And can we put back up 376G?
G. Oh, I see the pictures. Yeah. Is this this is not those?
Seeing 376C, is this consistent with the scratches on 376G? Are these consistent with the scratches you saw on Miss Heard?
I don't see a date. Is that the same time? Is that the same date?
Oh, my
these
question is, are the scratches similar to what you saw on Miss Heard?
These are uniform, kind of long, thin scratches, yes.
Yeah, it looks like a cat scratch whenever the red goes away. You're not wrong.
Any objection?
I mean, Foundation, he hasn't authenticated the document through this witness.
I mean, I'm just asking if the pictures are consistent with
I'll
what he's...
allow it 376G in evidence.
And can you publish it, please?
It is.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering where he's going with this. Like, I'm actually genuinely curious. Because he's been going hard at this, like, super hard.
Now, you were in the house, you said, for 12 to 13 hours on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Correct, going into March 9th, 2015.
I'm not downplaying her abuse. There's no context with that behind it. We don't know if it's abuse or not.
Spoke to Mr. Judge when you were in the house, correct?
You had interaction with Mr. Judge, yes.
And you had interaction with Dr. Kipper when you were in the house, correct?
Correct.
And you had interaction with Debbie Lloyd when you were in the house, correct?
Yes, briefly.
Okay. And isn't it true that in the entire time you were there, you were not informed as to what caused damage to Mr. Depp's finger on March 8th?
Objection, hearsay.
I'm asking what he wasn't told.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You didn't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th, correct?
Dr. Kipper told me.
Hey!
But you don't know what caused the injury to his finger.
One of his fingers.
But you don't know what caused. You don't know how his finger was injured,
I
correct?
don't think anybody mentioned it to me at that time.
Right. No one mentioned it to you at that time, correct?
Same objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'll allow it. Next question.
Just stop, man. This guy gets mad whenever he doesn't get his answer, like a baby.
Now, you understand that there was a phone in the house that was recording during the cleanup, correct?
Sorry, I didn't hear all of that.
Did you come to understand that there was a phone in the house that was recording as people were cleaning up?
Correct.
At that time, no.
But you now know that there was a phone that was recording people as they were cleaning up, correct?
Objection, Foundation, hearsay.
I'm not asking for particular statements.
That's fine. I'll allow it if he knows.
I believe that came up somewhere later on. At that time, I wasn't aware, but I believe I became aware of it later, yes.
Okay. I would like to put up Defendant's
farming.
378. It's a recording. I want to play a couple of times. 12:07 through 13:19.
Is that the only segment you wish to have?
And then I'd also like to play 1951 through 21:38.
Let's hear it.
Is this going to be used again, or is this?
I think it would be A.
Okay, 378A. Any objection to 378A?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have an objection. I believe this is a recording that has the voices of people other than Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, and on that basis, it's hearsay.
Okay.
Unless I'm incorrect about which document we're talking about.
Can we
Sure.
And we need to be redacted. Chat, can they redact on the fly or with other techniques to mute the audio of other people? Wouldn't that be kind of helpful though? The technology is here, is it not? It can be done with AI. Yeah, it's very simple. If you layer it or whatever the fuck, they layer the audio and they isolate the fucking the waves or whatever that come in from one spot. Boom, and they isolate. What about it? No, you wouldn't be tampering with evidence because they redact for unless I'm wrong. Okay, you guys, in a lot of texts, when they show the people to the jury, they redact. Right? Like, for it to be legitimate, for them to show the jury without being garbage or show too much, they'll show a picture and they'll redact. Why couldn't you? He's on Discord. Hey Jesse, you there? While they're doing this? Jesus, yeah, Jesse's handsome. What the fuck? Oh, I'm not muted. Hey Jesse, you're muted right now, by the way. Yeah, you're unmuted now, you're good. Unless you have a push talk, you should be good to go. If you speak loud enough. Yeah, I can't hear you. Mods, he's unmuted, correct? Because oh no, I said correct. It's getting to me, dude. Yeah, you should be fine. So if there's any problem with you, you might have a push to talk. If you can't talk, which means you have to, by default, I think you have a push activation. The button should be, guys. What is a stock button when you download Discord? It'd be V. If you hold V, I think you could talk. Oh, he's on the phone? Aiden said earlier, gave ad for perms not to be supposed to talk. Okay, so I'm gonna give you mods. Give him the correct permission to talk without having to push to talk. I give you moderator. Can you talk now, Jesse? Moderator was not good enough. Okay, whenever there's next break, I'll talk to you.
Excuse me, sorry about that. Going back to the photos that you took for a moment of that damage in the house, you recall giving that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Depp ask you for the photos?
No.
Did you give the photos to counsel for Mr. Depp?
Some of them, yes. Yeah.
Did you withhold any photos from Mr. Depp or his counsel?
Didn't withhold any photos from anybody. I didn't withhold.
Did you give all the photo? Did you give all of the photos you have on your phone to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
Not all of the photos on my phone, no.
All the photos of the damage that occurred on March 8th, 2015?
Probably not all of them. I don't think so. No.
You didn't give them all. You didn't give them all to Mr. Depp and his counsel.
I don't believe I gave all of the photos.
Why not?
Because there are a decent amount of them. I mean,
So you picked and chose what photos you were going to give to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I gave an amount of photos to them.
Do you know how many photos you gave to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I don't know precisely, no.
Okay. Could you give an estimate as to how many photos you gave?
I really can't. No, an amount. I don't recall how many.
More than 3?
He's trying to get him in
Yes.
any light possible, I feel like, at this point, right?
Possibly more than 10. Yeah, maybe.
Between 10 and 20?
Objection.
Possible.
Speculation.
I mean-
Hasn't answered.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Do you know?
Sorry,
She overruled you.
Oh, okay. Possibly more than 10. Yeah,
But somewhere between 10 and 20, is that right?
possibly. I honestly don't know.
Could it be more than 20?
I don't think so.
Did Mr. Depp's counsel ask for all the photos?
I don't recall.
You don't recall one way or the other what they asked for?
I gave them some photos. I don't recall how many were asked for.
I mean, dude,
requested.
And those were requested in 2020?
Correct. Prior to
the UK
that, yes.
trial. Did they ask for them in this case?
I believe I supplied some for this case also, yeah.
You supplied photos for this case to Mr. Depp's counsel?
I believe I did.
Okay.
Oh,
And
no.
Was that about the between 10 and 20 photos?
Oh,
that
not
we're talking
again.
about?
I don't remember how many for this.
But was it the same? Was it the same amount of photos that you gave to Mr. Depp's counsel
I knew
in
it.
the UK?
I don't know if it's the same amount. I don't recall.
Did Mr. Depp's counsel in this case ask for all the photos you had of the damage of March 8th,
All.
2015?
All of the photos? I don't think they requested all of the photos.
They didn't ask for all the photos you had of that damage?
I don't know if they requested them all.
Because sometimes you take 2 pictures of the same thing, like, or 3 or 4 of the
Was
same
it
thing.
Mr. Waldman
You
who
only
asked
get
you for
one.
the photos?
Like,
Originally, I don't remember who called it. Shillings. Were the,
Did Mr. Waldman ever ask you for the photos?
I don't know if he asked me specifically. If he was part of that team, I assume so.
And you spoke to Mr. Waldman, is that right?
I did a couple of years ago, yeah.
Okay, and he was part of the team that was asking for the evidence you had of what occurred in Australia in 2015, is that right?
He was part of that team, as I understood it, yeah.
Okay, and as part of that team, he and others were asking for photos from Australia from March 8th, 2015, is that right?
They requested them at some point.
And how many?
some of them.
And you provided, and that's when you provided the 10 to 20 photos, is that
Amount
right?
of photos, correct.
Okay, and then was there a separate counsel that asked you for the photos in this case?
Yes.
There was?
Yeah, I mean,
was it-
it
who
was
was it
essentially
that-
the same.
Who was it that asked you
Photos.
for photos in this case?
I don't recall a name specifically.
Was it a man or a woman?
I don't. I just part of the team. I don't recall.
Okay.
dude, this
And
is
when did
getting
they
crazy.
make that request?
When I don't know a date. I don't know specifically.
You know what year?
This year, last year. I mean, prior to this, obviously.
So it could have been in 2022 that they asked you for the photos?
I think it was prior to that. I don't recall.
So maybe late 2021 or early 2022, is that what you're saying?
Does that matter at
Honestly,
all?
don't recall which part of the year.
But it's either 2021 or 2022, is that right?
I would imagine that's probably correct.
Okay. And you gave them some of the photos you had?
As I just said, yes.
Okay, but not all of them.
Correct.
So do you have more than 10 to 20 photos on your phone of the damage that occurred in Australia?
She said, like
Again,
I
I
said,
don't recall the amount.
you should
So you
say.
have a larger amount on your phone than what you provided to Mr. Depp's counsel, is that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. Cumulative.
I'll sustain the objection. It's asked and answered.
Okay. It's going to London for a couple minutes. You didn't live at the house in London, correct?
I didn't live there, correct.
Okay. Do you know if Miss Heard had friends over to the house in London?
She did. They came to stay. Yes.
And they stayed from September 9th through September 22nd, 2014, correct?
I don't remember the duration, but that's possible.
Okay. And they were
If you
staying.
explained why not all of them, you would have gotten out of this, I think.
Correct.
They were accommodated at the house, correct.
Right. And so you don't know who was drinking the bottles of wine that were brought into the house, correct?
At which point? What do you mean?
When Miss Heard's friends were there, you don't know who was drinking the wine.
Oh, they were all enjoying the wine, for sure.
They were all drinking the wine.
I took care of them as I would take care of any guests that came into any house.
And wasn't it 5 to 7 guests that were at the house with Miss Heard?
I don't remember the number. It sounds about right.
Okay, and then at the end of the night, there was 1 or 2 bottles of wine finished, right?
When Mr. Depp and Miss Heard were there on their own, there was certainly that amount, yes.
But you know how many? You don't know how many? You don't know how many bottles were there when it was Miss Heard and her friends, correct?
I would say more.
You don't know, but you don't know one way or the other, right?
I don't recall the count, but certainly more than when there were just 2 of them in the house, because
you
there
don't
were
know- but you
7
don't-
extra people or 5 people.
But you don't know the count.
Precisely, no, I don't.
And do you know how much time Miss Heard was in London with Mr. Depp, not with her friends?
A fair amount of that time.
What
I
do you-
don't recall days, no, I don't recall.
So they were there for a month, correct?
Thereabouts, yeah.
And I mean, when I say they, Miss Heard and Mr. Depp were in London for about a month, right?
Correct, around about a month.
And wasn't it true that for about 2 to 3 weeks, Miss Heard's friends were also staying in London?
I don't think 2 or 3 weeks. I don't recall, but I don't think it was that long.
You don't know one way or the other, right?
I don't think it was that long.
But you don't have anything to base that on, right? Just what your memory is saying.
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know what happened in London when you weren't there, correct?
You mean after I'd left of an evening?
Baiting hearsay, literally?
Usually the chef was there still when I left each evening, Russell, who would take care of dinner and leave later that each night.
And then after the chef left, you don't know what happened in the house, correct?
I wasn't there.
Right. And you don't know for certain whether Mr. Depp drank wine or not in London, right?
I don't believe so. There's usually, when it was just the 2 of them in the house, there was usually only 1 glass in the morning, either on the kitchen sink or on the bedside stand in the master bedroom.
But you don't know who drank from that. You don't know who drank from that glass when you weren't there, right?
When I wasn't there, correct. But when I usually left the house, I'd already poured Miss Heard a glass of wine before I left, invariably.
But once you left, you don't know if Mr. Depp drank wine or not, correct?
I wasn't there after I left.
Okay. And you don't know what started the fights you
He
talked
threw a jab
about
in there.
in London, correct? Other than that one you said you heard about her hand.
The second one that I described, I was in the vicinity. I heard the first comment of this. That was the start of that argument.
And you don't actually know if there was an argument before what you heard, right?
Asked and answered?
Evening, I didn't hear another one. I'll put it that way. It started in that room as I described earlier.
And you don't know what happened in Australia also between March 5th and March 8th, correct?
Asked and answered again.
6th, I left on Friday the 6th.
These
was
are
when
all
I
asked and answered.
Left for the weekend.
Okay, so between Friday the 6th and when you got to the house on March 8th, you don't know what happened.
I wasn't there.
Okay. And you never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, right?
Sorry, say again.
You never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time,
When?
correct?
Beyond sort of finger prodding and violent, I didn't see either of them be violent towards each other.
You never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, right?
I didn't see her be violent, depending on your...
I can show you a witness statement where you say you never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time.
Okay, violence, yes, I didn't see violence per se.
Damn, dude. Got him, dude.
All right, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Thank you.
Wait, what? Wait. Sir?
Mr. King, have you ever been employed by Mr. Depp?
No.
So in each of these situations where you've been around Mr. Depp, you've always been employed by somebody else?
Correct.
All right, I'll sustain us to leading, strike the answer. Next question.
Are you based anywhere other than the UK?
No, he's just straight up based.
Where do you live?
Not UK
I
specifically.
live in central London.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
Sustain the objection. Next question.
Based.
We heard some discussion on Cross about photos, which I suspect you remember. Why did you take the photos of the property damage in Australia?
As I do, and a lot of my jobs and various assignments and jobs through the years, I take photos as points of reference for whatever reason. I mean, if I'm packing suitcases up and they're going to be in transit and I'm not with the suitcases, I'll take a picture of contents and when I send stuff so I know it's gone and what's gone.
Now he's drawing, definitely drawing
pictures
something.
as points of reference. I sometimes take pictures of table settings that I've done or which I know.
Well, take a photo of damage
I
of
can
something you're
use
in charge
later on
of?
as reference.
So they know what they're paying for? Literally, they know what they're paying for?
Were the photos of property damage in Australia the first photos that you had taken in the course of
insurance?
Working with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Objection leading.
All right, I'll sustain as to leading. Next question.
Had you ever taken photos before?
Yes.
What kinds of things had you taken photos of?
In London, reference points and dinner table settings. Sometimes Mr. Depp would write notes for Miss Heard. He'd leave notes on the sort of kitchen table
That's
when
Depp's
he
lawyer.
left for work.
Or Jim.
I believe I took pictures of those. They were, there,
Right.
things like that. Just setups of, once I set up houses, it's always good to take photos of rooms so I can cross-reference later on if I need to.
Did Ms. Heard or her counsel ever ask you for photos of any of the photos you took in Australia?
No.
I'll sustain as to leading. Next question.
Oh, man, too late. Too late.
Can I see Plaintiff's Exhibit 159?
I mean, they can strike it, but the jury heard it, right? Isn't that all that matters? No, they're not supposed to use it. Guys.
And I think this is a multi-page document. Can you scroll through?
Cognitive dissonance.
I think we have 3 pages here. Mr. King, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it's the floor plan of the house in Australia.
Wait.
And do you recall on cross-examination you were asked to kind of describe where some of the property damage was?
Yes.
So right now on the screen in front of you,
Yeah.
which floor would you say this is?
This is the top floor with the master suite and 2 other bedrooms.
Okay. And I believe counsel asked you if there was blood in one of the bathrooms or one of the bathtubs. Do you recall that?
Yes, they did ask
That was
that.
wrong.
Would that have been on this floor?
I think they were referring to the master tub. I think that's what he said.
Okay. So can you mark on the screen where that would have been?
The master tub? It's over here. Can I just...
Guys, this is not Men in Black.
Just dot it, yes.
Planning an idea is very easy.
Okay,
Getting
so
rid of
that-
it is nearly impossible.
Looks like the master tub.
Can't redact somebody's memory.
And just to clarify, did you recall seeing any blood or damage there?
In the tub, no.
Okay. Can you mark for us on the screen where you did see the damage that was discussed on cross?
The mirrors, can I dab on here again?
Sure.
Yeah, so these are the sinks. The 2 mirrors were above each, the mirror above each sink.
We want to see, man.
Okay. Can we scroll up to the page prior?
Nah, it would make sense for them to have their computer record at all times.
And can you point out for us on this page? Well, first of all, which floor is this?
This is the main level floor. Essentially the second floor, if you want.
Okay. And can you point out for us here on this map which of the where the property damage was?
Yes. How many dabs am I allowed?
Somebody answer?
Around here, kitchen area. This was the TV, the wall-mounted TV. I ran out of dabs.
And I apologize, actually, Your Honor. Can we move this into evidence?
Any objection to 159? No objection. All right, 159 in evidence.
Wait,
Can we
he's
publish
limited
this
to
to
some
the
amount of dabs?
So, Mr. King, I apologize for interrupting you. So you were just pointing out where on the, I think this is the second floor?
Yes, essentially the main level, yeah.
Okay, so other than these three dots, do you recall any other places where there was damage?
Yes, where it says family room, there was the TV was wall mounted on that wall in between family and lounge. The sofa was approximately where you've got the red
Let
square,
him dab, man.
red rectangle now, facing towards the TV. The lounge is used. Sorry, too quick.
He bugged it.
The lounge was essentially the art studio. And the bedrooms over to the left there, where the lamp, damaged
What is he
lamp
drawing,
and
though?
Shade, blood on the duvet, etc. that I described.
Okay, and then let's go to the
He's
first
drawing
page.
100%.
And which floor is this?
This is the lower ground floor.
I feel like he's drawing a train.
Okay, and can you point out for us, did you find the finger on this floor?
Correct.
Can you point out to us where you found the finger?
Yes, I can. Right here. Ah, there we go. It's the end of the bar. It was on the tiled floor below
that
that
it?
end of the bar.
Okay, and any other significant property damage that you want to point out on this floor?
Yes, as I said, this was the. Can I dab again? Yeah. So that was the most part of the broken glass. That's where the Stolichnaya bottle was, below that bar by the bar stools. There were 3 bar stools that you could sit at there. On this back wall here, there was plaster damage. Over here above the sink,
I'm not allowed to show that?
or to the side of the sink, was more plaster damage on the walls. Behind the bar is part of the broken. That mirror was cracked, broken. Ping pong table was around there, collapsed on the floor. And around those 3 dots there, I'm going to put another one. That was the spillages as well, that smelt like alcohol to me, the puddles of alcohol.
What? Am I not allowed?
Is that it?
I mean, that was the most part of the damage around that area,
Guys,
in front of the bar, especially.
They need to get the men better tech.
There was-
What is this
As
garbage?
I said, there were blood drips around that white, cream-colored tiled floor in the
Literal
games room.
garbage.
And this is the staircase down. It was this side that the chip was out of the stone step. And if I can get
Yeah,
another
get my
dab
man's
in
a
there,
fucking leap pad,
right
man.
about in the center of that bar, the chunk out of the side of the counter bar top.
Okay. How many exits are there on the ground floor?
Well, all of these were exits. You know, all these. My office was off over here. I think you can just see out. It says study. Big glass sliding door. The gym had an exit up here. This went into the garage. There was the button you could press for the automatic doors to come up. The laundry area, which is right here. This
Is this relevant?
This is actually
yeah,
an exit.
because they
out into the yard, essentially.
The other guy tried to diffuse and disintegrate
All of those
how
rooms
precise
had
the information was,
an exit.
I feel like. And that it wasn't. And I think he's trying to reinforce how much there was and how precise he can recall getting it, I think. Some shit.
Other than Mr. Depp's counsel, did anybody else ever ask to see your photos?
I'll allow it.
No.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness subject to recall?
No?
All right, so since you're subject to recall, it's important that you do not discuss your testimony with anybody and do not pay attention to the trial and don't watch anything about the trial, okay?
Of course.
All right, thank you.
Certainly.
All right, you can step down, sir. Yes, ma'am?
Thank you.
Wait, is Gigi? Hey Jesse, you're muted right now, but can you try it?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. Hey, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it, man.
I'm glad we were able to figure it out. Sorry about that.
No, it's cool. I mean, I'm very interested into this anyway. Yeah, just there was a couple of questions about like the law side of this that I had that I you know I want to kind of know about and maybe educate people about at the same time, kind of learn it at the same time. Okay, I was wondering in this particular segment here, no, the one just before, where there was a guy, the correct man correct, you know, this correct, you know, you were watching, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the guy who was managing the property?
No, sorry, the defendant's counsel asking questions to the butler man, the lawyer. Yeah. So, can you try to give us a rundown of what was the strategy you think he was going for with this tirade of questions?
Ladies and gentlemen, that comes to the end.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for watching our live stream on Law and Crime. We're going to be showing the whole trial throughout the course of this. Make sure to check out on Law and Crime, our YouTube channel. We're actually going to be launching a Twitch channel soon, so we'll up on there as well. Look, what they were trying to do was show Johnny Depp was in an insane rage, right? He was out of control. He doesn't remember what happened during Australia. He probably cut his own finger off, whether he's lying about it now or he didn't remember what ultimately happened. And they're saying that this property manager, like everybody else who testified for Johnny Depp, is somebody who's trying to protect Johnny Depp. That, you know, this is somebody who has a financial interest. He doesn't want to hurt his employer, even though he wasn't directly employed by Johnny Depp. That's where they're trying to go. And the reason they're trying to do that is that all these people that Johnny Depp has testified on his behalf are biased, right? They're not credible. Jury don't believe them. So that's kind of what you're seeing. And the more that they can show that Johnny Depp was kind of out of control, a drunken mess, a danger to himself, a danger to Amber Heard, was responsible for his own career torpedoing, the better her case is and the worse Johnny Depp's case is.
Okay. And do you think that he achieved the goal he was trying to achieve there or not?
So it's all about the finger, right? It's all about whether or not did Johnny Depp cut his own finger or Amber Heard did it. I'm kind of left like in a wash. I'll tell you why. There's a part of me, if I just heard this guy's testimony, I would think that Amber Heard threw that bottle at him and Johnny Depp's finger was severed because of Amber Heard. There was glass on the floor. There was a ton of blood. But then I'm so confused because earlier today, there was a text message that was read between Johnny Depp and his doctor. And Johnny Depp is talking so bad about Amber Heard. He's saying the worst things about Amber Heard, but yet he doesn't mention that she threw the bottle. He says he cut his finger. And it just makes me wonder, if you're saying the worst stuff about Amber Heard, why not just say to your doctor that she threw the bottle? He claims he's trying to protect Amber Heard. Well, why are you protecting her and talking bad about her at the same time? So I kind of feel like the jury and all of us will never get a straight answer as to what actually happened to Johnny Depp's finger. You know, on one hand, he goes, I'm a guitarist. Why would I cut my own finger? At the same time, if he was in such a drunken or intoxicated state and in a rage, maybe he did it. We all heard this audio last week of Johnny Depp allegedly cutting himself in front of Amber Heard. It was a separate occasion. And I'm thinking if he was trying to do that at that time, maybe he did that this time. And so at the end of the day, I think it's kind of a wash when it comes to the whole testimony on the finger.
Okay. Okay. Let's say in a case like this, wouldn't they be able to bring like some sort of like forensic expert or whatever who would try to be able to kind of dispel some of the things, some of the conceptions people could have about this? Like, how could a bottle do this, or how could somebody else could do this? Could you not like kind of sort of reconstruct the events or something, or not?
It's a great question. And the reason that's a great question is because when Johnny Depp was on the stand, he actually had said, he goes, my doctor at the time said this was an injury of velocity, and there was an objection, meaning, and it was sustained, meaning he couldn't go further with that. He couldn't testify about that. But if they can bring an expert to show, this, I don't know if everybody on here actually saw Johnny Depp's finger, if you saw the picture of it. I'm no medical expert, but I'd be very interested to know if cutting your finger can create that same kind of injury versus somebody throwing a glass bottle at it and shattering it. I think there's a way that could be explained. I mean, I deal with that all the time on the cases that we cover on Law and Crime, these kinds of injuries that have to be explained one way or another, and there are medical experts that are designed to show you that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense, because I was wondering how that would happen, and if he was drunk, how he would have done it, and if he had done it, if he would have explained, let's say, how he did it, or what he would have used. See, I was a little bit not on the fence, but now since you brought up an actual good point of maybe he was in a drunken state and maybe he could have actually done it to himself, I think you bring an actual good point that kind of puts me on the fence about it because of the narrative that he had about it as well.
And it's not the end of the day. I mean, look, it's one thing in the giant case, right? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Amber Heard attacked him. We saw photos of it. She's on tape admitting she attacks him. It becomes a question, did he hit her back? And there's evidence to suggest that as well. There's evidence where in these text messages to Amber Heard, he keeps apologizing and apologizing and apologizing. What is he apologizing for? Is he apologizing for saying terrible things, to be drunk, or is he apologizing for something else? And even we heard this audio recording today where allegedly Amber Heard says to Johnny Depp, "Get off of me." So it becomes a question for the jury about, were they both attacking each other? Were they both victims in this? Were they both abusers? It's a job for the jury, and we're not quite there yet for their decision, but that's kind of where I'm left.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah, since I think I missed a lot of parts of this. I just think sometimes there's in some people's like speech patterns. If you have like a lot of recordings, a lot of testimony, you can kind of say like, "Oh, this guy is apologizing when he's in this situation or this situation." Like. For myself, like, let's say sometimes I'll, when I'm in a bad situation, I'm not the one in the wrong, I'll apologize for just being part of it, right? Or in the middle of it.
Right.
This is something, some of these arguments could be established over long periods of exposing the jury to certain dialogues and recordings.
Well, here's the thing, right? So Johnny Depp is not like anybody else. He's really not. And by the way, I was in the courtroom last week. I was watching him testify in person. He's different than anybody I've ever seen on a witness box, and he's different than anybody that we know. And he's saying, look, the way that I talk this is my sense of humor. This is the way I act. Kind of have a dark sense of humor. And you're reading too much into the text messages. It looks like I'm violent. It looks like I'm saying these things. I don't really mean what I'm saying. So it's going to be up to the jury to say, well, do we take it literally when he says he wants to do things to the corpse of Amber Heard, or when he's apologizing, or do they have to read kind of beyond it? He wanted to provide more context to a lot of the things that he was saying and writing. And right now, I think his attorneys did a pretty good job of trying to clean that up. But is that everything he says is a joke? Is everything that he says taken out of context? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I saw him on the stand. He seemed pretty credible to me. He seemed pretty relatable to me. I'm very curious to see what happens when she takes the stand, how she comes off, because everybody's going to be watching her as well.
Okay, so it's kind of like could it be a little bit like a horseshoe where he says everything is a joke, and now when things get serious, and oh no, that's serious. Well, everything was a joke up until this point. If everything was a joke, why is this not a joke as well, right? Couldn't that kind of like bite him in the ass in the end or not?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, he also kept saying that with Amber Heard, he had to keep placating her. Like, he had to keep let me just make things easy. Let me move things over. I'll agree with what you say. I'll say this. I'll do this to try to move the conversation, not start a fight. And clearly they had a toxic relationship. So there's a part of that could be true. But if you're just telling the jury, don't really believe anything I said in any of these text messages or what I'm saying on tape, that might be a little bit of a stretch, right? That might be a little bit much for them to take, because we all watched this video of him smashing the cabinets and kicking the doors, and she might have been recording it, and why she was recording it is a bit questionable, but he's still on tape doing that. He's still writing these text messages. You can't escape it. And he can't deny that he wrote or said the things that he did.
Yeah, which is a little bit of a disaster, I think, in the sense that in a case like this, they're trying to win the jury, right? Like in the end, it's the jury that matters, right? And from my perspective, I try to remain as impartial as possible, right? As neutral as possible, try to see it both sides. But it seems like all the recordings are all from her, right? Most of the things, when things go wrong, when things get heated, she puts up the camera, she starts recording. And whenever they get into an argument, she doesn't let him leave, and she instigates kind of thing while recording. Do you think that plays a role in the jury's head? Where like, oh, I mean, she's always recording, and she knows she's recording. She's not gonna turn away. And sometimes I think he doesn't know he's being recorded, which is kind of like, isn't that kind of like a weird dynamic? So I guess you got up to you really hard there. Sorry.
Well, no. Here's the thing. There were times that he knew they were being recorded. He knew that the conversations were being recorded. Then there were times that he didn't know they were being recorded. And that's the stuff that she's going to be really questioned about. Why were you recording him, breaking up the house in the morning? Why, after you got a restraining order against him, did you decide to see him, watch him cut himself, and record that? Were you using it to help your legal case?
Boy, by the way.
Were you using it to have something against him? If you were so scared and in fear for your life, why didn't you just leave the house?
True.
Why did you feel the need to keep recording him? And that's going to be something she has to answer. Now, the other flip side of it is, and this is the best argument I think she should go with, is look, I recorded all this stuff of Johnny Depp because I knew he would deny it later on. No one was going to believe that Johnny Depp was going to act like this. And guess what? He's denying it right now.
Okay. I think it's gonna difficult for her to take a stance that she's like caring and worried about him, because sometimes they try to play that card where she's very in love and cares for him a lot, right? Even in those instances. But if I try to put myself in the eyes of the jury, right? If my significant other is in a state of disarray, bad news are coming in, things are dark, and she gets mad or he gets mad, right? And starts throwing things around. My first thing that I want to do is I want to help them, comfort them, and try to ask what's happening and try to better the situation because I care about them. I don't pull out my phone and start recording and pull out the fucking studio lights and try to get a nice picture of this, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. A really good point. And look, she's going to be, there was a text message that came out between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's mom. And he's like, she was the best thing. She helped me through the whole process. So there's going to be more testimony that she helped him through the detoxification process. But then there's also everything that we've heard that she kept making things worse, and she kept instigating fights and starting it and recording him.
Yeah.
And that's something he tried to stress. And that's a problem. Look, that's a problem for her case. And look, at the end of the day, they're not trying to prove that Johnny Depp committed a crime. All they're trying to show is that she lied about him. And the question is, did she lie about him? And this is the most important point I think I can make, is that if her side can show that Johnny Depp in any way abused her physically, emotionally, mentally, verbally, that's telling the truth about Johnny Depp, and he's going to lose the defamation case.
Okay.
Now, again, she's countersuing him for $100 million, saying that he lied about her, saying that, he called me a liar. He said that I was faking injuries. Well, I don't know. There's some interesting evidence we're hearing. And there's a part of me that I actually think they're both going to lose. There's a part of me that I think both of their claims are going to lose. And at the end of the day, people are going to look at this case and make their opinions one way or another about what they think of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yeah, I mean, even a lose-lose, which is almost kind of a draw type of thing, I feel like isn't kind of Johnny Depp's entire thing is like to move on and kind of restore his image type of thing. And I feel like he's almost kind of achieved a piece of that. Maybe you would agree?
So here's the thing, right? Like, a part of me thinks, okay, he's trying to rehabilitate his image. He doesn't even care if he wins the legal case. He's speaking to the American public right now. Everybody's watching it on Law and Crime, and they're watching him testify. And you would think he's trying to rehabilitate his image and maybe get his career back. But the problem is he also knew all this stuff was coming out. So now all of the world is seeing him call a woman these terrible names. They see videos of him throwing things around. They hear videos of him, audios of him cutting himself. And the question becomes, at the end of this, is it going to help his career or not? Is Disney going to hire him back after hearing all this? I don't know. But I tell you, it's so funny being in that courtroom and being in Virginia, when I would ask people at the end of the day and after he would testify, what do you think? Mm-hmm. They think he's amazing. They support him. So it's almost like it's hard to tell what the public reaction is going to be after Johnny Depp finishes this case.
Yeah, it's almost
if he's going to be accepted back or what.
Yeah, it's almost like people see that he's kind of human at the end of the day, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. And I think I admire him for that. That's what I've been noticing in the chat and on social media, is that some parts of him make him human, even past all the fame and whatever. And I think people, people are quick to to admire that. And even myself, I'm kind of caught in some of that, right? But at the end of the day, is Disney and whoever are people that value that human side of you? Not really. I feel like most of the time they try to hide the human part of people.
Well, he I think he's coming off really humane in the sense that I think he's really becoming off relatable for a couple of reasons. One, he didn't have to file this lawsuit. He decided to do this. He's airing his dirty laundry. It is embarrassing, but he says, you know what? I have to clear my name for me and my family. Even the way he was speaking, he said, look, I'm not my characters where I speak 100 words a minute. This is the way I talk. And he's kind of slow and deliberate and methodical in the way he spoke. He would struggle to find certain words. And I'll tell you, being in the room, he's so close to the jury. He's only like a few feet away. And a lot of times he's talking directly to them. Hard to get a great read on the jury, what they were thinking. They were kind of stone-faced throughout it. But it just felt to me that he came off very credible and he came off very human and exposing himself for the world at large. And I think that's going to go a long way for him.
Yeah, especially when he admitting guilt and admitting vulnerability. I was addicted to this. Yeah, I was having these problems, and I had the very dark thoughts. Things happened to me, whatever. And I think you could kind of feel that in the room where it was going through these times. And I was like, I can only see the people at the back, but I can give you an idea of how people feel in the jury. You can't see the jury.
Yeah. Especially since some of them are wearing masks for COVID-19. It's kind of hard to get a read on them. But the ones, I'll say this, the ones that the whole jury, they do not take their eyes off of Johnny Depp when he was testifying. It was either they were looking at him or they were looking at their monitors at exhibits that were being shown. They didn't really look into the gallery that much. They are focused so intently on what he was saying, especially when he first took the stand. So I was there when he first took the stand. Like the whole courtroom went silent. You could hear a pin drop in the sense that everybody was waiting on his next word. It was so silent and eerie. It was incredible to watch, partly because it was the first time we saw Johnny Depp in a witness box versus on the big screen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big deal. It's like it's like the most behind the scenes that you're gonna get. They have to spill it all, and spill the beans. And even watching it was pretty eerie. Just watching the whole thing unfold. There's some other questions that I had. Yeah, what are the main points that they need to prove or disprove in what she said in the articles that are like defamation? Like, what are the main points they're trying to get at?
Okay, so here's the problem for Johnny Depp. Okay, here's the problem with his legal case.
Yeah.
He has to show that 2018 a Washington Post op-ed was either deliberately false or recklessly false. And it's a really tough standard, defamation in general, but it's really tough when you're talking about celebrities and public figures. The problem for him is it's really about three statements that don't even mention his name. And one of the statements apparently wasn't even written by Amber Heard. So you're focusing on these two statements. Were they false? And the problem with the statements is they're so vague. She's talking about being a survivor of domestic abuse. And as we talked about earlier, if she can show any example of abuse, physical, verbal, mental, she's not really lying. So even if you were to accept that, okay, you know what? Jury comes back and says, okay, you know what? I think she was lying in the article. I think she was lying. Okay. Problem is, he has to show that that article itself
goes back to him,
damaged his reputation. And there's so much that's not clear how much the article itself hurt him. There's everything she said in 2016. There's everything about the temporary restraining order, but he's not suing about that. He's suing about the article. And so to tie it back to the article, if he can't do that, or his lawyers can't do that, he's not going to be successful. Or at the very least, if he were to win, it's going to affect how much money he actually gets in damages, that we call it damages. So that's the problem with his case and some of the weaknesses of his case. And also, she is putting forward a First Amendment article in the United States. She'll have a First Amendment right to write about an article that is of public interest. And her article is about the Me Too movement, about being a survivor of domestic abuse. So she's going to say she has protection to write what she wrote. And there's a strong argument there on her side. But again, she can't just say blatantly false things. But is she saying blatantly false things after everything we've heard so far? It's tough to say.
Yeah, aren't some of these laws or whatever? It's because I was reading an article that are more like recent or whatever. Do you think those are gonna help a lot, like solidify the stuff and give it like a shield towards like what they're coming out with the defamation stuff?
Are you talking about earlier when he went through all the bad articles about himself?
Oh no, not that. I was looking at some other thing. No, that was kind of weird though. I thought that was a weird segment.
Yeah, they were basically trying to show two things. One, your career was going down the tubes, Johnny, even before this 2018 article. So it's really not the Washington Post article that torpedoed your career and harmed your reputation. It was already harmed, whether it was harmed from the things that she said in the past or more it was what you did. You know, they keep saying the only person to blame for Johnny Depp's career torpedoing is Johnny Depp. The drug abuse, the alcohol abuse, being erratic, showing up late, damaging property. And that's what they're trying to show.
Okay, but at the end of the day, that would be kind of hard. Some of these things are like hard to pinpoint, you know, because it only happens over time, over this, right? But something like Disney dropping him closely after the allegations and the articles coming out, that's would obviously be easier to pinpoint and triangulate, right? So
yes.
So if he were to win, he would go with those big points and not like his big loss of money or opportunities, correct?
They have to make it very clear what did he lose because of the article. It can't just be kind of like nebulous, like, oh my gosh, he lost his whole life. No, you have to be pretty specific. What happened after the article? Who read it? How did your get changed? How did you lose career opportunities? Got to tie it back to the article. It's all about that 2018 article. That's it. Nothing else. And so if they can't show it or they have difficulty showing it, it's a problem. It's a big problem for his case.
What do you think are the chances that that Johnny actually gets a win here or Amber gets a W?
See, again, I think they might both lose. I really
what would
do.
that look like?
I think
Sorry for cutting you off. What would that look like?
Yeah.
What would that look like in a scenario where they both lose? Like, what does that look like in the court, in the ending?
The jury would come back and say, we don't find Amber Heard liable. We don't find Johnny Depp liable. You wash your hands, you walk away, and we're all left to cover up the pieces. I mean, it's literally like they would be left. That's it. You move on. Case closed. That's it. The jury decided. And if the question is, what are the American people, or the world at large, I should say, the world at large are all thinking about this. So we, the world, are the jury. We, the world, are making our own decisions on what we think of Amber Heard or Johnny Depp and whether or not we want to support them and move forward. We're like the second jury. We're the big jury. So, of course, in the courtroom, it matters about who's going to win legally. He wants to win. She wants to win. He has $50 million he wants from her. She wants $100 million from him. It'll be a question if that actually happens, but it's more about, I think, also the world at large is the jury, depending upon what we think of each of them.
Yeah, I could be wrong about this. I feel like the big loss is already kind of behind us. I think whatever happens, whatever mending or healing will be kind of maybe weird. I mean, going through all this afterwards, what does the future look like for Johnny? Even if, let's say, if he gets a W, I feel like it's all kind of damaged and weird. Is it not?
If he wins, it'll be great for him because he can vindicate himself and say, look, I win. Now, I will tell you, and I should be very clear about this, there are people who support Johnny Depp and Amber Heard no matter what. They are not going to change their opinion based on what this jury in Fairfax County, Virginia decides. Not a chance. I interviewed, you can watch it on Law and Crime, I interviewed a woman that brought 2 alpacas outside that courtroom. She brought literal alpacas to the courtroom, and she said, no matter what happens, I support Johnny. I don't believe any of these things. Think everybody's a liar. She doesn't care. If Amber Heard wins her lawsuit, she doesn't care. But I think for Johnny Depp, this is an important legal move for him.
Was that you? Was that you with the microphone?
That was me with the microphone interviewing the alpacas. That was me.
Real. I watched that earlier. Yeah, no, that was a step.
Yeah, that was me.
That was a real solid piece of content. Okay. Yeah, that was really good.
It was hard hitting journalism. What can I say?
Yeah, that was really good. Very impactful. On the spot, kind of on the spot, in the rain and whatnot. I mean, taking big risks these days, aren't you?
I got to do what I got to do. Listen, she was out there. I had to interview her. No one was interviewing her. I was like, how are you no one interviewing her right now? We got to talk to her. And then I interviewed this other woman who was an Amber Heard supporter who believed that Johnny Depp and his team were engaging in cyber warfare to silence Amber Heard supporters online. So again, just like you have a lot of extremes, you have a lot of people opinionated about it.
Yeah, I don't think these hardcores, I don't think change their mind, but I think a lot of people, you can whenever the truth come out and all the verdicts will come out.
Well, let me ask you, do you look at Johnny Depp or Amber Heard differently now that you're listening to all this?
Well, I didn't follow any of the drama, the gossip. If you ask me, I would have been a good jury because I didn't know anything about any of this, literally.
Yep.
I didn't even know he took drugs, did drugs. I didn't know I didn't know much about him at all. But as it stands, he came out pretty human, and at the end of the day, I kind of relate to that. And I like the fact that he's kind of like isn't making a big deal out of it, like the big things he's doing, right? So whenever he comes out and says like, yeah, man, like there was these problems, and we did, let's say, I did drugs, or we did this or did that. I feel like he comes out legitimately human. He kind of relate not to what he's doing, but how and why. And it's kind of easy to relate and put yourself in his shoes a little bit. What was the initial question, by the way? Because I was going to go on a rant about this.
No, that was my question. I'm curious what your perspective is. Like, has it changed at all about Johnny Depp? You know, because this is a different side of him than people see in films.
Oh yeah,
that's it. That's interesting.
And then from her side, I didn't. You know, for me, there's a lot of big actors that are very like out there and memorable. It's not no offense to her. It's just I didn't really know who she was either. I've probably seen her in like 20 movies or whatever, and I didn't catch her name.
Clearly, you're not an Aquaman fan or a Justice League
I
fan.
watched Aquaman in theaters not too long ago with popcorn. I had a root beer over there. It was great, but I don't remember her in the movie. I don't know why though. Not trying to be rude.
Well, in Aquaman, actually, I saw Aquaman too. I don't. It's a good point. Well, first of all, she had a different hair. She had like red hair, so it's kind of like hard to remember. Yeah, and she had a small part in Justice League. I'm a huge Marvel DC guy, so I watch.
Oh, okay, yeah, I love Marvel. Okay, so
yeah, it's amazing.
So then I was from her side, the problem that I have with her currently, even though I'm trying to remain unbiased, is that in one way, right? I see the way she conducts herself in the interviews and the articles, right, where she's taking big high stances on, oh, I'm doing this for this, and she's using a lot of big words or big movements or big like laws and standing very tall, right? But and then afterwards, I see some of these recordings, they're kind of sneaky, and some of the things that she's saying, the antagonizing, the chasing, the bickering, the just instigating overall. And to me, the problem is that when these things don't really match with one another, right? Then it becomes harder to feel the human side. It feels a little off. And I feel like if I feel like this, there's a good chance maybe the jury feels a little bit as well, right?
Well, they shouldn't base their decision on emotion. They have to base their decision on the facts and the law. And look, she has to take the stand and tell her side of the story the same way Johnny Depp did. And she's going to have to explain that, why she felt the need to record. And she has to explain how absolutely ludicrous and crazy it is for her to make up a story about Johnny Depp. She has to make it clear what would serve me to write a false article about him in the Washington Post. What would serve me to fake an injury, because that's what he's alleging, that she faked an injury on herself twice. That she has to really say that is just so crazy. And her perspective is going to be, listen, I was in a relationship. First, I got to know Johnny Depp, loved him, he was amazing. But then as I learned who he was, this is a guy who was heavily involved in substances. He had demons. Look who I was around. I was trying to keep the peace. I was trying to get an answer. And I had to defend myself at times. That's what she's going to say. And she needs to humanize herself. Now, I know, and I'll say this, I know people have been watching Law and Crime and been watching her reactions. People have said they're watching her when Johnny Depp is testifying. And some of our commenters and some of the people believe that she's faking it, that she's faking showing emotion when he's testifying and crying at opportune times. I can't speak to that. But what she has to do is come off as real on the stand and tell her side of the story.
Yeah, I was touch over a little bit on that. I think it's something that people can kind of smell is when somebody is being unauthentic, right? I think it's very hard if you're not authentic to come across as authentic, right? And if she's gonna go, even though she's an actress, right? I think it's a whole different ballgame to be in there and tell some stories that would be possibly fake or not real, and come across as authentic. I think it'd be a good challenge, you know. If it's
she has to not only come off as authentic and real, whatever she ends up saying has to be consistent with the evidence. We cover these cases all the time. And you have people who take the stand, and then all of a sudden they get mixed up in their stories, and boom, they're presented with a document, they're presented with a piece of evidence, and it doesn't conflict. It conflicts, and it's not consistent, and then they look not credible. That's the same thing kind of what happened to Johnny Depp earlier, where okay, you say you never told, you didn't want to tell anybody that Amber Heard cut your finger because you wanted to protect her. That's very noble of you. But then why, in behind closed doors in an audio recording with Amber Heard, do you not mention that to her? And you say when you cut your finger. Why in your text message to your doctor when you're saying all the worst things about Amber Heard, do you not tell him that she cut your finger? See, and that's the things that are a little tricky, right? Those are the things that catch people off guard, and that's one of the biggest dangers of a defendant, or in this case, both parties taking the stand and trying to explain their stories. So she has to be very, very well prepped before she takes that stand.
Okay, because I didn't see, because I came a little bit late, I didn't see the previous days. I didn't hear some of the things that you just mentioned about the doctor stuff and said that doesn't really match. It's why I was a little bit biased towards the other side, because what I heard is that whenever he was talking to her, he when she was recording, he was telling her that she cut his finger off, right? And she kind of like brushed it off as like she didn't really verify, deny, or be confused about it. She just kind of continued the conversation in her dialogue. And I feel like in a way, in a scenario where somebody said something that would be as outrageous as, "Oh, you got my finger, I didn't do it," I would immediately kind of be like, "Hey man, okay, first off, I didn't do that, or you did that, or I didn't do that," right? You would kind of, and the fact that she isn't, every time that he brings it up in those recordings, to me, that's what puts me on the other side of the fence, And
yeah, I don't know. See, the recordings that I remember and what I heard is he would say when my finger got cut off or when I cut my finger. Like he didn't say on the recording, at least I didn't hear any, where he's like, when you threw the bottle at me and shattered my finger, and she goes, yeah, like there was never any of that. That would be what we call in the law a smoking gun. That's what you need, and we didn't hear that. So there's some odd parts of those recordings.
Yeah, and the fact I feel like that it's consistently her who's recording, and the fact that she's doing the dialogue these ways when she's recording, kind of makes me think that she's kind of playing her cards right, knowing that it's recorded. And I think that these small things, yeah, they're not a big deal because you can kind of argue against it a little bit. But whenever they stack up and they stack and they stack and they stack, I feel like over like long periods of time, people notice, and I feel like you just kind of intuitively you get in line with that. And I guess whenever it's her turn on the stand or whatever, to try to come across as a not doing that and not being this way towards the jury. So, you said you have to like catch him in a lie or whatever, right? And like, now that we're gonna go to their side soon, right? Like Amber's side soon, where she has to testify. Do you think that
soon? That's a good question because he still has more witnesses that he has to call, and then she's going to have her side, but I still think he has a lot more of a case. I think we still have a lot more of his witnesses. I mean, we predict that this trial is going to go for another month. I think we actually think it's going to wrap up by the end of May. And just a little heads up, so not only are we covering on long crime, but I'm going back to Virginia next week, and then I might be going back the final week of the case as well.
Oh wow! Do they stay around and mingle or not?
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? No, they were instructed not to. They're not allowed to talk to anybody. They're not allowed to sign autographs. They literally come in through the back entrance, so not even where the public is. They go through a back entrance. They're bringing by cars, and then they leave. No discussion with anybody, and that's it.
Oh, that's kind of cooked.
Now, I will tell you, sometimes they wave to fans that are outside, but that's it.
Oh, okay. So far, do you think that they have done a pretty good job on his side to kind of have their story solid and not be caught in lies or loopholes or whatever they may be?
I think they've done a great job. I really do. I think they've done a really, really good job at trying to paint the picture that, he was a victim, that he really has no reason to file this lawsuit except to try to clear his name. I think they've called a number of witnesses who've never seen injuries on Amber Heard, who've testified pretty bad about Amber Heard. I mean, her assistant testified that she was a complete nightmare. Now, you can say that these people are biased, right? You could say that these people are not believable because they either are trying to protect their friend or employer, Johnny Depp, or they have a personal vendetta against Amber Heard. You could very well say that. But in order to establish his claim, I think he's done a great job. I will tell you, though, I think there is that legal problem with the defamation claim.
Yeah.
Like we talked about before, tying it back to the article, they're going to have to call more witnesses. And in fact, just to give you a preview, we are really looking out for the testimony of this guy, Adam Waldman. And Adam Waldman is somebody that he used to be Johnny Depp's lawyer. He was kicked off the case. This is a guy that's going to play a very big role in Amber Heard's counterclaim. So she's going to say that Adam Waldman and Johnny Depp orchestrated this campaign to call her a liar and creating a fake abuse hoax. And so he's going to be in the hot seat as well. He plays a central role in all of this. And it's going to be interesting to see how much he actually helps Johnny Depp's case or maybe helps Amber Heard's case.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes as somebody who doesn't know much about law, I have no background at all. I'm literally a dropout. I always try to maybe understand the legal strategy that they're using in any scenario, right? Like whether it's a defense or whatever. Like by asking certain questions, what are they trying to paint the picture of, right? Like what is the bigger picture of this? It's why earlier I didn't really understand when we had the butler or the housekeeper on the stand being asked a lot of questions that ended up incorrect, by the other guy. And because because most of the time I could tell I can understand the strategy a little bit, but I couldn't understand his strategy. It seemed like he was just trying to get any sort of possible lie or inaccuracy and get him in all these little places to try to just completely make the jury distrust his testimony. But maybe I'm completely wrong about that. I don't know.
So no, you're not wrong at all. Basically, he was trying to do a couple of things, and this is important. So you guys might not know this. Usually, witnesses who are about to testify in a trial, they're not allowed to see the testimony of an earlier witness. And the reason you do that is because you don't want that witness to try to help somebody's testimony. If you and I are both witnesses in a case, right? And I say, that day that car was red. And then I finish my testimony and you're in a hidden room and you come out and you go, oh, Jesse said that the car was blue that day. That's perfect because we're both giving accounts. What you don't want is me saying it's red. You were sitting in the trial watching and they go, yeah, Jesse said it was red. So that butler, the Amber Heard side, was trying to make sure that whatever he testified to about that finger cutting incident in Australia, that those facts match up with the facts of what Johnny Depp said, right? And so they're actually trying to impeach. They're trying to show that Johnny Depp wasn't telling the truth. They're trying to show that this guy might be biased.
Yeah.
Any which way. And again, trying to further the narrative that Johnny Depp was wild and out of control. And I just want to give you a heads up. I do have to leave in about 5 minutes.
Oh, no, you're good.
No worries. Let's talk a little bit. Let's.
I mean, you've been fantastic. I like your energy. I like the way you conduct yourself and answer my questions. I like it a lot. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. So I guess I understand that it's why he was doing such like blank kind of like bland statements, right? Where
Yes.
like, yeah, it was like that. Yeah, it's as boring as, yeah, it was a bottle there. Yeah, there was drops there, right? And it wasn't like crazy, like, yeah, upper left here. It wasn't like too crazy, you know? And
yeah, and by the way, you'll notice this too. This happened a lot with Johnny Depp when he was being questioned by Amber Heard's attorney. There's a thing called you can't ask compound questions. So it has to be like one idea in each question. Did this happen? Was the color this? There. You can't say, well, is it because of this that this happened and this happened, and one long-winded question. So sometimes you'll see questions that are really short and straight to the point, and they're trying to build to something next.
Yeah, I realized that with that line of thought, that guy was doing a lot of asked and answered. At some point, they kind of gave up doing objections about him, because I was like, dude, we answered like 3 times, and they kept kind of like letting him go with it. Maybe they just thought that he wasn't gonna get caught in like a lie or an inaccuracy. Just kind of a dumb question. You don't have to leak it. I always wondered, the people that are the top lawyers there, are they paid pretty well? Do they make good money or not?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They're representing Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. They're making a great living, and when you're representing A-list stars, let me put it this way: when you're an A-list star, you get A-list representation. Okay, so there's some amazing lawyers in this country and who have very high-profile cases, and the clients they represent, these are clients that can afford their services. There's a reason for it. Now, I will tell you that we cover a ton of different criminal trials, and public defenders, these are, defendants who don't have money for private lawyers. They get public defenders. Public defenders get a lot of crap. People get a lot.
Yeah, continue.
Lawyers, public defenders get a lot of crap. People think they're not good lawyers. They are good lawyers, but obviously, if you can afford great representation, you're going to get great representation.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. So, what about you? Are you like a lawyer? Do you practice, or do you show up there and you chill?
So I am a lawyer. I practiced for several years, and then I went completely into a different direction. I went into hosting. So I host, obviously, on the Law and Crime Network. I host a number of different things here on radio. I have a fashion show with my father. I host on Sirius XM, News 12, local news. I do things for CNN. I've done things for Fox News. So I do a bunch of hosting and reporting in here. But yes, I'm still a lawyer. I still talk about the law, analyze the law. I don't practice as much. But it's all about being on air right now.
Well, I was grateful talking to you. I don't want to take any much of your time. Thanks so much for coming on and explaining all this to literally nobody that doesn't do anything with law like myself. You guys were very nice and inviting, and I appreciate that. So thanks for letting me watch and interact with me.
No, of course. And please let us know if you ever want us to come back on. Please continue watching our stream on Law and Crime and on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
And we're going to be on Twitch soon. So really appreciate the time. Thanks so much. And I want to thank everybody for listening.
Yeah, you got it, man. Hey, have a good day. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.